Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Big night last night for the Utah Mammoth. They crushed Toronto 6-1. They're flying now. 7 points out of 8 possible on this homestand. They have now gone 5-1-1 and picked up 11 out of 14 points possible in the month of January, getting themselves right back into the playoff race. The numbers look good in the standings, but other teams have games in hand. The Mammoth have played more games, so they got to keep it rolling the rest of this homestand. But that was a great win. Dylan Gunther with a massive game. For more on this game, let's get to the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth moved into that first wildcard spot in the Western Conference on Tuesday night with a 6-1 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs to start their homestand. 3-0-1 and snap Toronto's 8-0-2 stretch. They were the second hottest team in the NHL entering Tuesday night's action, and the Mammoth got things started early once again. Mike Carcone, 3:22 into the first, got the Mammoth on the board.
This way for Nate Schmidt, left circle, one-timer, they score! Michael Carcone finds pay dirt, and it's 1-0.
It stayed 1-0 through the end of the first period. Utah had to kill a couple penalties against a red-hot Toronto power play that was over 30% in the last 4 games. But in the second period, Utah got a big save from Karel Vejmelka to keep this game 1-0.
Open man up the ice. It's Tavares on a break. He's in the clear. He shoots. Vejmelka says no. Karel Vejmelka, the great eraser.
And then Dylan Gunther took over with a pair of goals in 1 minute and 18 seconds. First, it was his team leading 22nd.
As he pedals up the left flank, he shoots and scores! Dylan Gunther fires a frozen row, almost too good to believe. Nobody knew it was in.
And then he capped off the second goal, which was the fastest consecutive goals by a Utah player in team history. 2 goals, 1 minute and 18 seconds apart. It was 3-0 Mammoth, and they were off.
So far this evening, and it's 2-0. Gunther on the attack again. He scores again! Dylan Gunther goes back to back, and he's trigger happy tonight.
And the exclamation point in a 3-goal second period came off of the stick of J.J. Peterka, who for the Mammoth buried his 16th.
Peterka shoots, and he scores! Boone had the screen, Peterka the shot, and it's 4-0. Another one of the new line combos finds the magic touch for head coach Andre Tierney.
Leafs got one back, but Utah quickly answered. Jack McBain with 2 assists in the first 2 periods for the Mammoth. Got his second goal in 2 nights. 5-1 from here.
Stay on the right side of the puck. Right now in the offensive zone. Gunther looking back door. They score again. Gunther to McBain, the old roommate Costco connection. And it's 5-1.
And Daniil Boot capped off the scoring, becoming the 6th Utah player with multiple points in the contest. He gets his 3rd to put the Mammoth up by 5.
Sergachev diagonally, Peterka towards the net, tapped on goal. Boot scores!
So Utah leads for the final 56 minutes and 38 seconds. Third time in this home game, they score a goal in the first period and never look back. So after getting a point and a disappointing contest on Sunday against the Blue Jackets, Mammoth get a 5-goal victory against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now 5-0 on nationally televised games as they move into that first wildcard spot in the Western Conference. First time they've ever beaten Toronto. So on this homestand, first-time victories against Ottawa and the Maple Leafs. Let us hear what head coach Andre Tierney thought after the contest.
Hi, everyone. Oshie, nice to see you, bud. Obviously, a really good game. We like the pace of our game, the speed we have offensively and defensively. I think we attacked every shift with a lot of speed through the neutral zone and a lot of pace, a lot of pressure on their D. And I think we knew that we're in the back-to-back to play a big game yesterday. And the theme for us was to bring that kind of after the game against Columbus, I talked to you about the mindset. And I said, it's not about focus, it's not about execution. the mindset we had in that game, the way we tried to play the game tonight, that's looked like not just the result. Obviously, we'll take the result, but it's more than that.
McBain line obviously had a good night. Lots of shots, lots of points. Besides that, what did they do so well to play as such a strong unit?
There's a lot. I think they play hard and fast. They were really fast in everything they did. They never slowed down. When there were no space, they were putting puck behind and they were going to work. So they were coming really fast. It's three good skater, and I think he clicks. For sometimes it's tough to explain why. It's just happened. I think Gunnar and Karks had success last year when they played together. Same thing, Gunnar and Boehner. They had success when they played together last year, and Boehner and Karks had success together. So that was the rationale behind it. And we thought probably, or we were hoping, between Booter and JJ and Utes will click as well. So it did. So it is what it is.
We've used the word relentless a lot to describe this team at times. The word on the broadcast today was killer instinct. Did you see that, and what tangibly did you see out of that?
Yeah, I agree. I think we have 5 shots in the third. I think we kept the pace defensively. Obviously, they were playing fearless in the sense they were trying more plays and stuff like that. So they had a little bit more possession, but still we played the right way. We put pucks behind. We were on them. They had no easy possession, so we were on them a lot.
So Utah took advantage of a Toronto team that was coming in on the second half of a back-to-back. They went to overtime on Monday night with Colorado, and this was a sandwich game between Denver and Vegas, who they'll play on Thursday night against their leading scorer from last year and their leading scorer from 5 of the last 9 seasons in Mitch Marner. So they caught the Leafs on a back-to-back, unbeaten in 10 straight with the backup goalie, but never let them off the hook. Let's hear from Dylan Guenther after his latest 2-goal performance.
A bunch of points. What was working so well with you guys, not only with the puck, but also without the puck?
I think just simplicity. Boehner's super predictable, and I think that me and Karks could kind of just read off him that way.
Karks was intercepting all the time, getting the puck up ice. What did you see off his performance specifically?
Yeah, I mean, he's super fast. Like, I think whenever there's pucks into space, he seems to win the race every time. So it's super nice playing with a guy with that kind of speed.
Both of your line mates today are from Toronto. Did it mean anything extra to them to get a couple against them?
I mean, probably not, but maybe if you ask Boehner that. I think it's just a great bounce-back game versus what happened last game.
Since Carcone re-signed, he's been very reliable. How has he kind of carried himself since coming back?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good player. I think he's had success at every level. He's produced at every level, and he's worked. He's worked for everything. So he's a great guy to play with, and super fast, like I said. So he's a really big part of our team.
It's a group effort to hold a team like that to just 20 shots. What did you see out of the defensive details from your team?
I thought that we just played hard from the get-go and then didn't let up. They had a pretty good push in the third for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and I mean that's going to happen. But I thought we responded well.
Can you describe the energy or the mentality between periods when you guys are trying to maintain that calm energy to weather through a game when you have a lead?
Yeah, I think it's just stay on them. I think don't sit back. That's the biggest thing. I mean, even when you're trying to stay collective, I mean, you still have to be hungry and hard on pucks and everything.
You guys have won a lot of games here recently. I'm just curious, how do you continue to build on that and make sure that you continue to win?
Yeah, it's been a good stretch. I think we've talked about this stretch for a little bit and have looked forward to getting a little bit of time at home. So it's nice to be getting points, and we play a really good team next game, so just make sure that we're ready to go.
After a win like tonight, how deep is the belief that you guys can get the job done and get into the playoffs?
I think that's the big picture. I think we're fighting. Every game's a fight, so I think if we play like that every game, then we'll have a really good chance.
It's the 20th game-winning goal of Guenther's career against his 18th team that he's gotten a game-winning goal against. So the Mammoth will be back at it on Thursday against Dallas. We'll be on the AM only on Thursday night on AM 1280, the KSL Sports Zone, with the Jazz in action as well. Of course, we'll be talking all about it on Mammoth Daily. In today's episode, we'll get Mike's Morning After, hear his thoughts on the game. I'll give you more of mine. Barrett Hayton joins us in the Odd Man Rush, and forward Kevin Rooney, just called up from the American Hockey League, will be with us in the third period on Apple, Spotify, the Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and wherever you get your podcast. DJ and PK, have a good Wednesday, and we'll be back at the Delta Center coming up on Thursday.
There is the best of the post-game show. Now, yesterday morning, Mike Fulta joined us, radio voice of the Utah Mammoth, to talk about several things happening with the club and obviously looking ahead to the Winter Classic next year, and some of the players who have really led the charge this year and stepped it up over what we saw last year. Here is Mike Fulta with PK and I.
This homestand, we pointed to it for weeks and months. It's exactly like we did last year, right? And it's sort of funny in that they find themselves in the same situation. You're around the team. Now, you don't want to make too big of a deal because you don't want to play tense. You want to be free and loose and all that stuff. How much conversation is that we got to make headway right now? And is it almost becoming an obstacle rather than, hey, let's just go out and play the game and be loose and that type of thing?
Yeah, that's a great point, PK, because I think last year at home, we saw this team struggle. We saw this team struggle trying to make a new impression on this Utah fan base. And we even heard from the guys and head coach Andre Tourigny saying, yeah, we were gripping the stick a little bit too tight. I think we've kind of put those days behind us this year. Home record's been better this season. And you start this homestand, you won the first couple games of the homestand too. So that helps. You kind of get the monkey off the back a little bit. That eases some pressure. But you're talking about last year. Last year this team went 3-4. So they had a losing record during our January 7-game homestand a year ago. And that kind of put us behind the 8 ball, where this year you get off to a good start. You pick up 5 out of the possible 6 points to start the homestand. And it's going to get a little tougher. The competition gets stiffer tonight with Toronto coming into town. But I think getting those first few out of the way and kind of learning from last year have helped this group.
How much does it matter to add in a game where you need a lot of people, right? You got 4 lines, you got half dozen defensemen over here. How much does it matter to add Peterka and to get the numbers that he's putting in? Because there are stretches of his team where goals are hard to come by, and he's a guy who can score in bunches.
Oh, that's why he was brought in, right? Yeah. And we saw this team last year that had a lot of good analytics. They did a lot of the good things offensively. They got to the hard areas of the ice. They got the puck to the middle. They created a lot of scoring chances, but they just couldn't finish. Well, JJ is kind of the opposite of that, where you might not notice him all night and then, boom, all of a sudden he scores 2 goals. Like I like to say that JJ's strength is the hardest thing to do in the NHL, and that's score goals. He's got elite caliber speed. He has an elite shot as well. He plays in space really well. He plays off the rush extremely well. And so, we've seen a couple of electrifying moments at the Delta Center where, he's got just a little bit of daylight and then, boom, he's off and running on a breakaway, scores a big goal. And it changes the dynamic of a game when you have a game breaker like that. It's kind of like in basketball, a guy who can just go and get his own shot. Like, you don't need to operate any fancy offense or run any sets. You just have a guy who can go and get a bucket, and J.J. Peterka is a bucket getter, and that's something that this team has needed in stretches this year. And the goal scoring hasn't been off the charts this year. I think this team likes where it is offensively, but they might need a few against a pretty high-powered Toronto team tonight. They're one of the top scoring teams in the league.
Has Clayton Keller at the NHL level turned into Braden Smith at the college basketball level?
Nice.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Clayton Keller would have to be the best assist man in Western Conference history for him to be Braden Smith.
No, he's the Purdue point guard for those who don't know, and you went to Purdue.
Well, I mean, how could you not know? He's only the Big Ten all-time assist leader. And you know the best part of that was that Braden Smith passed two Michigan State Spartans, Mateen Cleaves and Cassius Winston, to get to that mark. And guess where our TV play-by-play guy Matt McConnell went to school?
Michigan State.
That's right. Yeah. Or East Lansing Community College. Same thing. But
nice.
So just to have Braden Smith pass a couple of those guys was a little cherry on top for me. But if you want to get to Keller, I mean, he has kind of been that. And I like the analogy to the Purdue point guard because Keller's been dishing him out recently. He's got 3 straight games with multiple assists. Now, a hockey assist is a little harder to get than a basketball assist. But he has been unbelievable when it comes to setting up his teammates recently. And you know, we've talked, guys, about like getting to the hard areas. I used that phrase earlier. Or establishing the interior of the ice, the inside of the ice. Braden Keller is not a big guy. We list him at like 6 foot, 185 or somewhere in that. I think we list him at 5'10". That's pretty close to true. It's kind of like me saying I'm 5'10" on a dating app. It's like, it's 5'9" with boots on, right? He's not the biggest guy, but you watch him play, and he's kind of shouldering guys or being physical with defensemen, establishing position, and then setting his teammates up. And he's embracing that physicality as he gets to the hard-to-reach areas of the ice to set up his teammates and endanger his scoring chances. So he's been unreal recently. And guys, ever since we saw him get appointed to Team USA, when he was announced on the Team USA Olympic roster, his production has been about 50% higher than what it was before. So last year when he didn't make Team USA for the Four Nations tournament, we saw his production increase, maybe a bit of revenge, trying to get revenge or prove the doubters wrong. This year, he gets announced to Team USA, and his numbers have increased, maybe a bit of a confidence boost.
Sure.
The Winter Classic is coming to Utah. And PK and I grew up in Southern California. PK lived in Southern California, where the Rose Bowl, people just talk about it, And part of the magic is the sun setting in the middle of the second half, which they messed with this year because they changed the kickoff time. The Winter Classic's coming. They're going to play outdoors at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Can you use all your influence and lobby the league so we get the sun setting, somewhere late second period, early third period? Can't set on the San Gabe's, as PK likes to say, but setting on Mount Olympus over there. It could be quality TV, but you got to talk people into this sometimes. I'm not sure they know.
Well, not to be a geography nerd, but wouldn't the sun set opposite Mount Olympus?
Yeah, but it glows off it when it does.
It's a reflection.
Yes. It's a reflection off the snow-capped peak.
Well, typically in these outdoor games, they do start during the day when it's light, or when it's lighter. And I think that's just because they want on TV to be able to see the backdrop. Right. Before it gets dark. So typically they do start in the afternoon. I will put in I'll put in my 2 cents for that. We'll see what our good friend Mr. Gary Bettman, the league commissioner, has to say. But I do think we are in line to get a sunset. I'm more worried about the snow.
Yeah,
guys. We got to have some snow on those mountains. When we made the announcement, we missed the snow by like a couple days. And we're looking out at the hills above Rice-Eccles, which are gorgeous, but they're not nearly as breathtaking without a little powder on top. Kind of looks like some anthills. But when you do the wide shot and when you see Mount Olympus in the background, like we'll definitely have snow there and all that stuff.
Yeah, you just have to turn it a little right.
We're trying to figure out like the guy's intro, because like every Winter Classic, the players have some fun intro into the stadium. Down in Miami, they all dressed up as like Miami Vice with the white suits and the pink shirts, riding Lamborghinis into the facility. So,
like how DJ comes into the studio. Yeah.
It's just a day that ends in Y for me, big guy.
That's right. That's right. I thought some jackwagon cut me off in a Lambo earlier.
I do think also, Mike, if you want a little more success on those dating apps, long walks in the park and sunsets on the beach. Guaranteed winner every time.
That works, really.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So.
Throw in a latte or two, and you're good to go.
That's like Service Academy football, just 3 yards in a cloud of dust right there. Old Faithful.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. Who doesn't like long walks in the park and sunsets on the beach?
There it is. So we've covered Purdue point guards, dating apps, and Utah sunset geography. It's been a rock-solid Utah Mammoth segment with you, Mike Folta.
Nothing but the best. Nothing but the best.
And, Mike, when you put that on the app and it works and you score, I want an assist like Clayton Keller and Braden Smith.
That would be a primary helper. That's like a.
I'll take the secondary assist. I made the pass that led to the pass. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right. There is Mike Folta yesterday on the show before the big win last night as the Mammoth wins 6-1 over Toronto. We're going to take a break. When we come back, BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. The Cougars have a really interesting game midweek and a big game on the weekend. We will get to that. Kevin Young next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hans and Scotty G at RGS Exteriors tomorrow from noon to 3 at 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. BYU getting ready for a week full of Texas schools, TCU and Texas Tech this week. Here is Kevin Young, BYU basketball coach with the media.
Kevin, after reviewing the film, anything stand out? Anything? What are your kind of takeaways from the Utah game?
Just proud of the guys, like I said, after the game for finding a way to get a win. You know, a lot of missed free throws, to your point, Jay, after the game when we spoke. So you make some of those, you obviously a much wider margin of victory. But just proud of the way that they were able to find a way to win. Yeah, I mean, we saw some stuff schematically, but, you know, like I said, in that game, there was so much emotion into it. Just finding a way to win was good. I mean, we came in today and, you know, really just looked at some of the situational stuff that we could draw from. And you got to turn the page quickly. You got a good TCU coming in. So my mind went – and they play so differently, so my mind went more to TCU, to be honest with you.
Then I just wanted to ask you quickly about adding Ahmed Beto, as you guys call him. What kind of – when you were looking to add a guy, what stood out about him? Why did you focus on getting him? What skills did he bring that you guys needed?
There's a lot that went into that. You know, it was a long-term play just as much as anything. You know, to get a player of his caliber and his experience, you know, and then the way it unfolded, you know, with the amount of eligibility he ended up receiving, sort of changed the course in terms of why we like him big picture. I mean, rim protection, offensive IQ, rebounding. Those are the qualities that we like the most. Size.
All right, we'll go with Mitch, Dana, and then Darnell.
Kevin, Richie Saunders earned Big 12 Player of the Week this week, and he was outstanding last year as a first-team All-Big 12 guy. Where have you seen Richie improve this year with this talented roster?
Just consistency. I think, you know, when you shoot it at the clip he shot it last year, it's like, okay, well, can you do that again? You know, and he's been pretty good there. I think he's driving the ball even better than he did last year. And it's like, you know, Richie's game is not a secret. He's going to do the things that he does really well. So I think it's a matter of being consistent in those things, and I think he's been doing just that for us.
And you've been big since you've been here at BYU on maybe proof of concepts. I'm curious, you know, Utah sold out a lot on AJ defensively, yet he still gets 20 and has an efficient night. How valuable is that going forward, that even when teams sell out on AJ, that he could still get his?
I mean, he just speaks to his talent. I mean, you can't, you know, and his quick decision-making, that's something we've talked about a lot. You know, I learned that when I had some great players in the NBA. If you hold the ball when the double team's coming, you're going to have a long night. But he figured out how to go quick on some of those rejects, some of the double teams. But, I mean, he's such a high IQ guy. You know, still got to the line a bunch. You know, still should have gotten to his average because he missed a couple of those free throws. But, I thought he made the right play more than he didn't. He'll learn from some of the mistakes that he made with the double teams. I mean, I think it surprised him with how many bodies they were throwing at him. And like I said after the game, they were determined to not let AJ beat him. But in a lot of ways, I think he did beat him because he made a lot of good reads. We got a lot of wide open shots because of the attention he drew.
Hey, Kevin, another big night with offensive rebounds. I think you had 16 against the Utes. You complimented the rebounding the other night against Arizona State as well. Has there been something that kind of clicked, especially on the offensive boards, that's been working lately?
Just guys going more, honestly. I mean, it's not really a thing that is that scheme heavy. It's just kind of a want-to thing. Richie's, 8 of them were the direct result of his ability to just outwork the other person and want it more than them. But I think, in all of basketball, rebounding is one of the biggest metrics that impact winning, and especially in the Big 12 and in college basketball in general. I mean, rebounding is such a huge part of the game, and it's got to be something that we do on a nightly basis on both ends of the floor.
And then in the NBA, you see a lot of these big three combos that, have won championships. You don't see a lot of big threes in college where 3 guys are all averaging around 20 points a game. Have you ever, how impactful is this to have 3 guys that any given night could lead the team in scoring?
I think you saw it unfold the other night. They were determined to take AJ away, and then Rob essentially walked the game down for us, along with Richie hitting some big free throws. So I think it puts a lot of stress on the other defense. You can't, you kind of have to pick your poison, but at the same time, and the thing I love about our guys is they understand that they need each other, and so they look for each other. They know where each other's spots are, and I think that's an area that we've really grown in. So it's a huge luxury to have, 3 guys that you feel like you can call their number and they're going to get something done.
Kevin, as you guys settle into the Big 12 schedule, a couple of games a week, what parts of the game plan do you make as most critical for your players to focus on?
Depends on the team and depends on what their strength is. Some games you feel like you got to tilt it a little bit more towards your offensive preparation. Some games you got to tilt it a little bit more for the defensive side. So it really just depends on the personality of that team, what they're good at, what the metrics say that they're good at. But when the plan all comes together, obviously we're going to give the guys a plan on both sides of the ball. But the pendulum swings a little bit based on kind of what we deem is what's most important based on our research.
Is that more on the players to get that done, or the coaching staff, or basically a combination of both to get that done?
The coaches. Yeah, the coaches. I mean, our coaches do a great job of studying other teams. Akash Sebastian, our analytics director, does a great job of giving us the necessary, numbers that we need to look at what teams are good at. And that's where, when you combine the numbers with the eye test, you feel like you're able to cover a lot of ground. We watch a ton of film and we try to really deliver a pretty clean and clear game plan to the players, but it starts with the coaches and all the work that goes into doing it. And I'm not sure if people realize how time consuming that can be, but our coaches do a great job with it.
All right, we'll go Mitch, Sean, and then Jay, and then Dana. You'll have the last question.
Yeah, Kevin, just wanted to ask, coming out of that Utah game, how's just Kaba feeling? And I bring that up because he had a go of it with, the UConn game and then illness and then just a slight ankle, just how Kaba's feeling coming out of that game.
Yeah, he feels good. He feels good. He's had a few setbacks throughout the year, but just got done practicing, had a good practice. I think his motor when it's running high is when he's at his best. I thought in Kansas State game he was tremendous. I think that was the game he had 16 rebounds. I think it was. And so just when he just gotta push through this little deal he had, which he has, and now hopefully we get him back full strength and ready to get back to that level of that high energy Kaba that we all love.
Yeah, Coach, you guys did a really nice job last week of not looking past one opponent for a big game on the weekend in that rivalry game. This week kind of has sort of a similar cadence or a similar level where there's a really big game on Saturday with a midweek game against a team that has been maybe one of the bigger surprises of the Big 12 playing TCU. Just what stands out about TCU, and do they have kind of your full attention, I guess, with a top 15 showdown on the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're a good look. I mean, they almost beat Michigan. They've played, what they did at Kansas was impressive. I've watched actually a lot of their games. Coach Dixon's an experienced coach. I think Iowa State and Houston get a lot of credit in our league for being tough-minded teams defensively. I think they have a lot of the same characteristics. And that's why they're in a lot of the ball games that they're in. And so our guys have to be ready for that. And I didn't even know we were playing Texas Tech, honestly. I seriously, I just get very locked in on what's in front of us.
All right, go ahead, Jay, and then we'll finish with Dana.
Yeah, Kevin, speaking of TCU, obviously they have a former Cougar, Tanner Toolson, was there before you. Then went to UVU, obviously at TCU now. When he went back in the portal, did you guys have much interest in him, and what do you see from his game, and do you know the Toolson family at all?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him, and Adam Stewart's also on their team, whose parents are my neighbors, so there's a lot of Utah ties to TCU. Yeah, I'm familiar with Tanner. He's a tough young man. He plays really gritty. I know the Toolsons. I know Ryan Toolson. I don't know how they're all related, but I know the family. I talked to Tanner just since being here and stuff. Great young man, great family. He's been a part of some of the big wins that they've had. So it'll be fun to compete against him. Wish him the best.
Hey, Kevin, any question in your mind that the Big 12 is by far the best conference in the country? And how does the grind week in and week out? How do you help prepare your team not to get worn down by this grind you're about to go into or already in?
No, there's no doubt that it's the best league. I mean, I think there's, 4 in the top 10? Or someone just told me we dropped to 11, which I still don't get. I mean, I really don't understand how the polls work, truly. I'm not trying to be funny. We have one loss by 2 points against the number 3 team in the country in their backyard, and we were down 2 starters. So I don't understand how we drop in the polls. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is our league's really hard. Every night is a dogfight. The coaching is tremendous. The talent, I think, this year is even better than it was last year across the board. These jobs that we all have are extremely difficult, especially in this day and age with how much it takes to put a roster together. Then you got to get everybody on the same page. So it's a real credit, all the coaches in our league. I feel a privilege to be a part of it. I know our guys, relish every game we get a chance to go out and play in this league because there's so much, notoriety. Like the other day I had ESPN on before our game, and it was like every game was a Big 12 game, so there's a lot of eyes on what this league does. I think Brett Yormark is a stud. I think he's a tremendous commissioner, along with Brian Thornton. The leadership at the top is really solid, and it's like I said, it's a privilege.
There's BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. When we come back, we are talking football. Cam Mellor joins us. He covers the transfer portal in the NFL draft for the Pro Football Network. Get his pick for the Indiana-Miami title game. And where are the top local players going in the draft? You might be a little surprised. Cam's next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, we're joined now by Cam Mellor, Chief Analytics Officer for Pro Football Sports Network. Cam, good morning.
Good morning indeed. It feels like there's no off days this offseason. It's been fun.
Yeah. Transfer portal, the coaching carousel, there's plenty going on. Now, we look at you at Twitter and we look at you grading athletes and all of that. How much does the blood pressure, the heart rate rise when you hear Michigan is going to get Kyle Whittingham out of, not retirement, but stepping down at Utah? How big a story was that in your world? Because you can imagine what it was in ours.
Yeah, I could only imagine. Fortunately, at the flying 30,000, feet above the air national level, I get to avoid the nitty gritty. But then you realize, okay, this makes a lot of sense for him. Pseudo retirement was actually just that, pseudo retirement. And but then what does it do for Michigan? What does it do for the Big Ten? What does it do for the precedence of the fact that he may be one of the only successful old school coaches left, and now what was and has been a blue collar old school type program like Michigan? So I love the match. To me, blood pressure rises because actually I live in Columbus, but I'm not an Ohio State fan, so it makes me sort of a little bit happy when I see that Michigan might turn the corner here and compete regularly in the Big Ten against my backyard team here. But it's, to me, I love the match. I love the fit. And then it was watching where the dominoes fell, I think, where the real blood pressure rose.
Yeah, and those dominoes, the transfer portal season, it seems like I don't think there's a question, at least in my mind, that the transfer portal season has overtaken the recruiting of high schools. And so what is your transfer portal class as you grade it out, combined with some of the kids that you may bring in? But you're thinking the portal class would be immediate help, whereas the youngsters may need a year or two to get going, and who knows if they even stay. With that in mind, you have a lot of grades from conferences. I'm wondering, as these individuals move from what we would perceive as a lower level, even if it's legitimately like a Big Sky level, to a Big 12, Big 10 level, but even if it's like a group of 5, the individual, when he moves up, and they have a sterling number beside their name, whether they be an offensive lineman or whatever, how accurate is that when they move up in what we would consider a level of competition, that they would still be able to perform at the level that they were at their prior place?
Yeah, it's hard. It's every number that I produce is opponent adjusted and then scaled with a strength of schedule metric as well for the opponents. And it's not just I took pride in it. Actually, I did it where it was the strength of the opponent when they play that opponent as well. So it's not like if you're playing, I always go back to the 2023 season when Georgia beat FSU without Jordan Travis, and half their roster. So completely different look for that Georgia team beating that opponent. It didn't really matter. And so to me, I look at it though, with that, it's still going to be, no matter how many times we adjust it and do the strength of schedule, the playing against the Big Ten, specifically say offensive lineman or defensive lineman, the rigors of an 8-game schedule, and then playing another Power 4, most likely of the non-con. To me, it's going to always be impossible because you never know how they're going to adapt to it. But what I do like to do is look at how they played when they did play up in competition. So it takes a little bit of a nitty-gritty aspect to go through it. And that's the fun part, though, for me, is figuring out where and when and how to assess those players that can do that well.
How do you assess the players who are going into an office that might be unique or cutting edge, doing things a little different? For instance, Utah obviously last year brought in the offensive coordinator from New Mexico and the quarterback and the wide receiver. And there's a lot of motion and maybe players hopping left and right, and it can improve the angle for a lineman. And there are all these kinds of little bit that, people who like us who never played offensive linemen, what do we know? But we keep hearing from people, hey, that's a big deal, and it gives them a huge edge. Morgan Scally even referenced it in his press conference when he was introduced as Utah's new head coach. How do you factor in all that, somebody who might be in a cutting-edge offense or defense?
It's difficult. I believe that's where you have to have sort of the football mind as well as an analytical mind, and that's where marrying the two. So, I played for 12 years myself, and so when you have that aspect, I didn't play offensive line. I'm never big enough. But you're able to look and see, and you pick out different aspects. So schematically, I don't know if you're ever going to be able to, because every scheme is going to be different, and even year to year it'll be different, game to game. And so schematically, analytics will always pale in comparison to probably the football eye. But if you can marry the two, and so for instance, like a guy like Devon Dampier, we knew full well that familiarity with the system was going to match what we saw on tape and on his grade from the season prior. And so as long as you've got some of these offensive linemen that are athletic enough to move in space, like I think that they're clearly targeting, you can sort of match the maybe not the grade specifically, but you can absolutely match the what you see or what you've come to expect with them. So it's a project I look forward to looking into this offseason, is comparing schemes, coordinators, and then how well they grade out, not just when they have them, but how well they play out with transfer portal and then also recruits.
Well, my freshman year in high school was a brand new school, and we had a lot of kids, so they had 2 teams, and they divided them by weight. If you weighed 126, you're on one team. If you weighed 125 or below, you were on the lightweight team. I weighed right at 124, and I was the starting offensive guard, so I know all about offensive linemen, man. and that was the only time I played football in high school. So, yes, you can speak for yourself there, DJ, by saying we never played offensive line. You never played tackle football. I did. And I can relate to Spencer Fano, and everybody was off the charts loving him this year. As far as his NFL career goes, where do you see him? How high do you see him going?
It's we all know how the premium, right? That the offensive tackles in the NFL, if you have these players that are getting these massive contracts, I always look at Donovan Smith when he got his $80 million or $70 million, and he was the pain spot for that Bucs offense when he was there. So to me, it's a premium, probably right behind quarterbacks in terms of the overall where you're going to overrank, basically. And so to me, that's not against Spencer Fano or even Caleb Lomo. To me, they're the top two. And so it's the pre-draft process will sort of separate them from the pack, I think. But I think they're a clear 1 and 2 in terms of where we had them now. I would not be surprised if both of them, because of how you have to sort of reach and because of the team needs with the way the draft order fell, that both of them are top 10. But to me, Fano is the clear number 1 at tackle. And if they're both not gone by pick 15 overall, I'd be very surprised.
Who would be the next player from one of our local schools off the board, regardless of school?
It's tough. It's those two, and then I think there's probably not a drop-off, so to speak. I have to assess my draft board, though, because I think that's where we are. I think we're looking down the list here. So, as I do such a thing, I honestly don't know if we get one right away from where I'm looking. I don't see a lot of the local programs on the top. And I think that's where we've come and where we've gone with the transfer portal era, unfortunately. To me, it'd be surprising to me right now, unless we have a pre-draft process rise from somebody, that we have somebody before day 3. But Lander Barton probably takes it for me. But that's, we've seen where run and chase linebackers go. But Lander Barton is probably the best next up for me.
This is more a philosophical question. As you come in contact with a lot of coaches, we saw the Kansas State coach say he retired, and he basically said, man, I would die if I would have stayed, with all the craziness that is going on. And then we see Kyle Whittingham at 66 is like, okay, bring it on. I got a new challenge here, and he's rolling with it. And we keep hearing it. But at the same time, he did a podcast with Urban Meyer, I think it was this week, and he's saying, Kyle's telling Urban that this model is just, without question, unequivocally unsustainable. He's saying that the money is going up 10 to 15% per year, which is if it was stick around in 10 years, these guys would be making $10 million. Some of these kids at 20 years of age. It just given your exposure to people. What do you think is going to happen as far as when you got somebody as an elder statesman like Kyle, but yet still willing to stay in the game, telling us that it's going up 10 to 15% is not sustainable? Something's got to change. What might it be?
I don't know what will change. I think we're going to get to a point where everything that we think now that are microcosms of the NIL and portal era are going to become the new norm, and then we're going to extrapolate on them. So the group of 5, group of 6, group of 5, because we're getting, everything back in order here for the group Power 5. But the group of 5 becomes a feeder ground at this point, where it almost turns into minor league baseball. And then to me, it's going to be, we're going to have something set up for these kids to have some sort of financial guidance at those programs, because unfortunately, to me, if we keep going, then the Georgia problem that they have with their off-field and their, say it's speeding, let's face it, their driving ability, these Georgia athletes, that's going to become the norm, because these kids are going to have these fancy cars and all these fancy things. And so to me, there's going to have some sort of financial restriction or guidance for all these kids as well. But if we keep going up, then there's no way that we're not going to have a feeder ground essentially as minor league. But to me, it's just unsustainable, and I don't know where it goes, because it's headed for a disaster, in my opinion.
As you grade out all these college football players, has it been telling you who's going to win the playoff games, and do you know who's going to win the title game?
It has told me since probably it was that first Indiana-Oregon matchup that Indiana was the best team in the country. Ohio State sort of hung around, but we always had the strength of opponents that they were playing that didn't tell us to really sort of bank in on them. And we did have Miami a little higher than anybody else in the ACC, so I felt good about that, the numbers. But to me, this is Indiana's league. This is Indiana's year. This is Indiana's season, and it's got Indiana not necessarily as big as you'd anticipate, but I think that's some knee-jerk reaction to Miami playing well. I think it's Indiana by a couple scores.
Then how about Mendoza grading out as an NFL guy? Any idea?
He seems to me like one of the safer NFL or first overall picks we've had in some time. If everybody wanted to say Joe Burrow was a safe pick, there was still some sort of unknown to his game, and he sort of had some of those YOLO balls that he threw down the field that you liked because he had the incredibly talented duo at receiver. He feels like a safe, cerebral game manager who's going to maybe not necessarily sell a lot of jerseys, but he's going to win you a lot of football games in the NFL. So I think he's head and shoulders above anybody else at this point in terms of projection and then ceiling, but also safety.
Cam Mellor joining us, Chief Analytics Officer for Pro Football Sports Network. What would you tell Dante Moore? He's got college eligibility. Should he return for another year, or is the NFL, is he going to be, pick number 2 behind Mendoza and he better go?
It's tough. I thought there was a room for him to leave and go if he was number 2. I think we saw why he should come back against Indiana for a second time now. There were some throws he left on the board. There were some reads that he could make, but also I think his former even if you say go back further before he was even there, but his former teammates in how Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel seemed more pro-ready and what he learned from one more year in the system. I know he's going to have to learn a new offensive system with Will Stein gone, but I think that will behoove him in the future and for the NFL, because we've gone from the NFL where the old adage was you have to allow those first overall picks or those first quarterbacks drafted in the first round 3 years to get their feet wet to now wanting them to win right away. So if you can have another year in college where you prove yourself, you can get thrust right into an NFL offense and probably play a little bit better, because it'd be a lot of growing pains if he left early, in my opinion.
And I read somewhere that the number of starts in college for quarterbacks is, and it's just real important. And if you don't have enough, then you shouldn't be a high pick. And they listed the number of guys that had been like a year or maybe even a year and a half as a starter, something like that, but didn't have the 2-3 year starting history. Do you buy into that they need more experience to be able to be rated more accurately coming out of college?
I'd say as a baseline, I'd buy into it, but there's always going to be exceptions to those rules where you have someone like Caleb Williams who, didn't start his year at Oklahoma, started and won the Heisman, and then he did what he's been able to do, but it took him a year, and then the right offensive system with the Bears. And so I think for every Bo Nix and every Trey Lance that are on opposite ends of the spectrum, we've seen what happens with Trey Lance with, 3 starts, 11 starts in his career until the NFL, and then Bo Nix with the record for starts. For every one of those two on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's going to be that middle baseline. That's where I buy in. I think Bo Nix, though, recently with how fast NFL teams have to win nowadays with the pressure from their fans, you're better off going back to school for a year and being ready to go.
Puka Nacua played his high school and most of his college football here in the state of Utah, and now he's second in receiving yards in the NFL this year with over 1,700. He was a 5th-round pick. If you'd like to call your shot on anybody who might slip in the draft but you think is going to make a really good pro, now would be the time to throw that name out there. Share your genius with us.
My genius is I also go back. I was at the Combine when he was there, and he was alone at the podium. And me, with the proverbial fan base that I have in your great state, I went over to talk to him about 15 minutes while he was at the podium, and I didn't understand why he was not sought after, why he was not a higher pick, and why people did not want to be around him. And so I didn't get it. I'm really happy to see his growth going forward and how well he's played. To me right now, if I had to pick someone maybe in that vein, I would say I'm going to go to receiver. One of my favorite receivers is Eric McAllister from TCU. Big guy. Everybody wanted Quentin Johnston to be something. But out of TCU, I think Eric McAllister is what they wanted Quentin Johnston to be, but he's also probably the best yak threat, yards after catch threat that we've seen recently. And so give him the ball, get him in space. He's sort of that prototypical guy where you line him up at the slot and let him do his thing after the catch.
Cam, we appreciate the time and all the football knowledge. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks as always.
There's Cam Mellor. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
I believe I read somewhere that comparison is how you steal joy. Keontae's having a great season. Donovan is a heck of a player. I have so much respect for him, the way he's carried himself during his career, the way that he plays. I mean, he's spectacular. But Keontae's running his race.
Deep.
Running his race. Will Hardy on the comparison between Keontae George and Donovan Mitchell.
So I disagree with that wholly, and that's with the WHOLLY because it sounds fancier. And what you do is you compare yourself to somebody who has it way worse. Then you feel more grateful. So it adds to your joy. You don't necessarily have to compare, oh, well, I'm not Donovan Mitchell. No. Like he can, for instance, that McCulloch dude, compare to him. That guy's just hanging on in the league. Jorge is a burgeoning star.
The Jazz of the Bulls tonight. The journey continues. Tip off at the United Center.
How about the guys who get cut?
Yeah, compare to those guys.
Yeah. Doesn't that bring you more joy? At least I ain't them suckers. Right? So he should do some more reading. And for myself, as far as reading, I just finished my first book.
No one believes that, but okay. What's your first book?
I'm writing a book. I just finished my first one.
Oh, I thought reading. You authored one.
Oh, I read the good book every day, my friend.
What book did you author? I can't wait to hear this.
It's the unabridged version of PK.
PK Unabridged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tales from CYO basketball.
It will be in paperback soon. Because I've always wanted to be a paperback writer.
Sing it. Chicago Bulls, fairly mediocre. 3 games under 500.
Haven't they been since like 1999?
Yeah, it really does seem like they've been. That's where they've been. 3 games under 500. They haven't been the worst team in the league.
No.
But when's the last time you saw the Bulls 4th?
I guess that one season Derrick Rose was good.
Yeah, when he was healthy and MVP. But other than that, when have they been in the top 4?
Seemed like they've been running in place after all the great times of the 90s, I guess. But, I mean, you've had 25 years. You ought to be able to overcome it. I don't know. There's a big debate. Who wins championships? Well, you can debate that forever. But I think one of the things that you can draw conclusions on is administrations can keep you down.
That's for sure. The players are coming and going. So it's got to be ownership or the executives.
Yeah.
Pre-game at 5 with Jake Scott and Tim LaComb. Tip-off at 6 tonight. We'll see if the Jazz can win back-to-back road games. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
When you or your teammates or your team has gotten booed on the road, you've hit the fans with a thumbs down in those cities. Tonight you got booed at home. Yeah. You did the same thing. Just kind of, I can't even think of the times you've gotten booed at home.
Never been a part. Do I? Have I? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Just
something new for me.
And just what that like kind of?
It doesn't change. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter. I thrive through adversity. I thrive when people don't believe in me. It doesn't matter if I'm on the road, if I'm at home, if I'm on my family dinner, if I'm at the practice facility against my teammate. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, I've never been a part of something like that before. So it's something new for me. I like it though. I love it.
There's Giannis Antetokounmpo on getting booed at home as the Timberwolves hammer the Bucks 139-106. No Rudy Gobert is serving his 1-game suspension. It did not matter. The Bucks struggled. They were down 18 in the first quarter. They lose by 33. They've lost 4 of their last 7. The Wizards have beaten them in that stretch. That's a bad loss. This is a 33-point loss at home to a team that was shorthanded. Yeah, I get why Bucks fans would be mad.
I crumble in adversity. I don't thrive. I fold up like your chair that you use at the July 4th picnic.
Well, Giannis is going to bounce back.
Well, I don't think they're booing him.
They're booing the performance of the team, the fact that we just talked about the Bulls who are struggling. Guess who's 1 spot behind the Bulls in the standings? The Bucks. 6 games under 500.
Well, they don't have enough talent.
There it is. There were no high expectations for them. No one is sitting there talking right now about how come you aren't one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the East.
Good old Glenn Rivers has a mess on his hands.
6 games under 500 and headed in the wrong direction. Anthony Davis will not need to undergo surgery for the left hand injury that he suffered against the Jazz. He got a second opinion. He's going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks. Tons of trade speculation with him.
Who would want him?
You just trade another problem for him.
Unless he probably has college eligibility.
He's got 3 years left. Go back to school. Mark Pope needs a midseason pickup. Go back to your Kentucky roots.
It's a shame for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they haven't had anybody healthy. Kyrie's supposed to come back here in a month or 2, they're saying, possibly. They are 10-10, I think, when Davis plays, and like 5-17 when he doesn't play. So, I mean, no question about his ability. No one ever questioned that. It's just the availability that is rarely there consistently.
They're sitting on 15 wins. What if they end up with the 6th or 7th worst record in the NBA? They keep Kyrie shut down and AD doesn't play again. Maybe they get another high pick. Maybe they get lucky.
He wants to come back. Yeah. So you got to see what you have there. But what do they want with Irving? I mean, he's a little older and Cooper is younger, so the timeline isn't really there. It's sort of like LeBron and Doncic there. So see what they do, but obviously they've got a bunch of moves to come.
Wizards are playing the Clippers tonight. Nets are playing Pelicans. Some of the teams near the bottom of the standings have to pick up wins tonight. You can check those games out while you're following the Jazz and the Bulls.
Oh, man. That's why I got the NBA package to watch that very thing that you speak of.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Final 3 seconds, dribble off the clock, and you can rock. Chalk it up, the Jayhawks win. Undefeated, no more. An absolute domination, 84-63, Kansas.
Kansas off to a 1-2 start in the Big 12. Iowa State undefeated 16-0, and Kansas jumps out to a big early lead. Iowa State can never really get it back to single digits, and Kansas rolls. So the Jayhawks, with a 21-point win at home, Iowa State, ranked number 2 in the country, gets their first loss of the year.
Somewhere Kent Benson is celebrating.
Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated national champs, 1976, last time it happened. Another big dog goes down. Think Kansas, if they can get Peterson in the lineup consistently, will start to live up to some of the expectations for them? They wobbled there a little bit, but he's been in and out of the lineup.
I don't think expectations were as high as you're intimating. But I think they're a good team, yeah. So they can. I don't see them going deep into the NCAA tournament. They weren't picked that high in the Big 12, I don't think. But I mean, they're a good team, though. And obviously, he is. Some folks are still saying he's number 1. We'll find out in June. Right now, to me, if you're going to go between the 3 or the 2, I don't because he's been out so much.
You're thinking him as 3, and it's really a 2-player race for the top spot.
If you just look at that, who's actually played between Carlos' son and our guy here in Provo, AJ, I would go with AJ, and I think he just has wild athletic
AJ
ability.
1, Cam Boozer 2, and Peterson 3.
Right now,
unless
but
he
that can change.
Yeah, he's got to get on the court.
So, get on the court and see what he can do and all that stuff. And
16 points on 5 of 16 shooting for him last night as Kansas.
He looked okay. I watched the game. I watched the first half. They were up 20.
Yeah.
I want to get a better feel for him because he hasn't been playing. I've seen the other two. I mean, I've seen AJ in person several times, and Boozer, Duke is on every single game. Plus they played TV games in high school now.
Yeah.
So I've seen Cam play 20 times, 25 times, and when I count high school.
Iowa State drops to 16-1 with the loss. Houston improves to 16-1. A rout West Virginia 77-48.
And they just guard the crap out of you.
Just harass you all over the court.
Yeah.
Fanatical effort and energy nonstop.
No wonder why Sampson, who's getting up there in age and his son is due to take over, doesn't want to quit because he's got it going on.
Mountain West basketball, Grand Canyon, new to the league. Your old school went to the pit. Got a taste of the pit there. They got beat 87-64. New Mexico is flying 14-3 on the year, 5-1 in conference. But you always used to say this, PK, what is New Mexico going to do when they leave Albuquerque? Because they play a lot of home games.
That they do.
Yep. And they've already lost at Boise State and they lost at New Mexico State, so see what they do on the road. Aggies tonight hosting Nevada, 8 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. You can listen to the game right here. Scotty G will be on the air at 7:30 with the pregame show.
Nevada, huh?
Yes.
All right. The Pack.
The Wolf Pack off to a nice start, 12-4 and 4-1.
Didn't they get them last year? Seems to me they
Nevada
handed them their first loss last year in conference, if I remember. Maybe not their first, but one of them. It was a surprise. So, yeah, I mean, they're one of the better teams, and so you got to look forward to this as a bigger game in the conference.
BYU takes on TCU, 9 o'clock, ESPN2. Should Cougar fans be worried about this? Feeling pretty good about their odds against TCU, 11-5, 1-2 in conference.
TCU is a decent team. So I wouldn't say worried because it doesn't really matter. And the fact is you're going to go to the tournament whether you win or lose it. But you can argue, oh my gosh, if we lose to these guys, who's a decent? They are a decent team. I acknowledge them as a decent team, but they're not upper level. So if you can't beat these guys at home, you can extrapolate. Well, what are you going to do when you got to play the bigger dogs that are out there? So if you want to play that mind game, including this weekend here with Tech, a ranked team. I think they're ranked in the top 15. I think they got 5 teams, I believe, ranked in the top 15, with Tech being the 15th.
Yep.
And obviously Arizona and Iowa State being 1 and 2, and then Houston's in the top 10, and we know the Cougs are 11. So sure, I wouldn't be worried about it. I would expect them to win. 9 o'clock's a sucky time to play.
Yeah.
So be it.
Utah is at Texas Tech. Texas Tech taking on our local teams this week. They got Utah tonight and BYU on the weekend. 7 o'clock, Peacock and the NBC Sports Network. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Mike Tomlin stepped down at Pittsburgh.
He did? Is it official?
That's what I keep hearing. So, is he a candidate here?
Holy Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job.
That's the Ravens owner right there, Steve Biscotti, talking about Mike Tomlin stepping down in Pittsburgh after 19 years. He is not expected to pursue a head coaching job for next season, take a year off before his next move. A lot of expectations he might end up in the media somewhere. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh, man, they just don't have to make coaching changes very often, so it's monumental.
3 since 1969. We're looking at 3 in 56 seasons.
That's impressive.
That is a long, long run right there. The Eagles move on from their offensive coordinator. Kevin Patullo is out, so they're going to have 5 offensive coordinators in 5 consecutive seasons. Nick Sirianni's statement indicates he'd like to keep Patullo on the staff, so find another job for him. But bring in someone else and a new offense, and away they go again.
And Utah saying, what's the big deal?
5 years. Alex Smith is over there. This isn't helping anybody. Pick an OC and an offense and stick with it. No, they're not. 49ers opened the practice window now. They're bringing Fred Warner back and letting him work out in here, and they're hoping that he could be ready to go for an NFC title game. If the Niners can beat Seattle this weekend, the former Cougar could be out there for the next game.
Driving in this morning, flicking around on the satellite, they were saying that there's some, I think it was Brady Quinn or somebody, was talking about there's a power plant by Levi Stadium.
Yes.
And there's some kind of connection there. The soft tissue
There have been
injuries.
stories written about this, the electromagnetic radiation from this, from all these power lines running in and out, somehow zapping their soft tissues.
Right. I know my soft tissue has been an issue because I've covered 3 games there.
Yeah. So that substation's been wearing you out.
Yeah.
You feel it on leg day, huh?
Covered a bowl game and then the 2 Pac-12 title games. The good thing, my hard tissues are fine.
Nice. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
FBS coach is overwhelmingly voting to expand the redshirt rule to 9 games. It's currently you get to play 4, and you can still call it a redshirt year. 9 games, PK. Everybody should be taking a redshirt.
Which would actually be, postseason games don't count, so it could be 11 games, 12 games.
Yeah, conference title game, throw in a bowl or playoff game.
I just think that we can't be labeling people juniors and seniors. I mean, it's what you feel when you wake up. So I don't think there should be any eligibility thing. If you feel like a sophomore today, you're a sophomore.
Anthony Davis is going to be back at Kentucky. This is going to happen.
If you feel like you're a grad student, you're a grad student. You know what I mean? Who am I? I can't define what a college eligibility issue is, right? How would I know?
Utah star quarterback Devon Dampier formally announced his return to play for the Utes next season. Tap danced around it a little bit at the bowl game, but now he's back, baby.
Well, and I respect that. Check out your offers.
See what your
possibilities are. Or your options is a better word.
Are.
Yeah, thanks. Check out your options. This is business, man.
It 100% is. And if they get somebody better, they'll sit you down. If you get hurt, they'll move on. You better cash in while you can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad for the Utes he's back. He's a fun-loving, upbeat kid to be around.
Yep.
Good quote. Always willing to talk. Always a smile on his face. Happy every single day, it seems. So I'm happy for him and them. You fans have taken a big hit here recently, so it's important to have him back.
There's going to be so much change on offense with a whole new line, a new offensive coordinator, multiple new position coaches. At least there's a little bit of familiarity and stability to build on.
Yeah.
Obviously coming off a really good season. Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman reiterated his plans to remain as the head coach of the Fighting Irish despite interest from multiple NFL teams. More than a quarter of the league now with open jobs, but Marcus Freeman saying he's going to stay at Notre Dame. Take him at his word or figure in 72 hours there'll be a press conference and he'll get introduced somewhere. My gut instinct was to take him at his word. Certainly these rumors have been out there for a while. Some of these jobs have been out there for a while now.
The word is the word in the moment, and it could be subject to change. Did he say he'll never do it? I haven't heard that. But as it stands
if you
right
reiterate
now,
your
he's here.
plans, I suppose that leaves the door open for, well, my plan changed. The Steelers had never called me, and now they have.
I wouldn't hold him to it if that were the case. As you get new information, changes can happen.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Cardinals trade third baseman Nolan Arenado to the Arizona Diamondbacks for right-handed prospect Jack Martinez. What'd you think of that deal with your D-backs?
Well, I'm sad to lose Jack Martinez because, as you know, he was a pitcher for the Sun Devils yesterday. That's why I'm honoring him with my Sparky hoodie.
Okay.
I mean, I knew you knew that.
I absolutely did not know that. Not tracking Arizona State pitching.
I mean, Arenado's old. I think he'll be 35.
Yep.
And his statistics have gone down, but they need a third baseman. And
St. Louis is sending him $31 million because he's got a big salary.
They're rebuilding. So, I mean, they're on the books for $11 million this year and next year. If he can regain. I mean, he was a premier guy in his prime. He was really good, but, his prime is come and gone. See what he's got left in the tank. I think that, he had a no trade. And as I understand it, he lives in the Valley, and so he waived that no trade. Actually, he's a kid out of El Toro, which is down there in Orange County, and he committed to ASU in high school. But then the draft comes, and I believe he's a first-rounder, a star. And obviously went into it's had a really good career. So if he's got some juice in the tank, give it a shot.
DJ and PK.
#golf.
Live Golf League captains Bryson DeChambeau, Cameron Smith, and John Rahm said they're not planning to follow Brooke Koepka back to the PGA Tour and are committed to the Saudi-run league. DeChambeau did phrase it in terms of I'm under contract and I'm excited to see what this year brings. So he's going to fulfill that year of the contract, but it does seem like the door is wide open after this year.
Well, yeah, but the PGA hasn't said the door is going to be wide open.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these guys are under contract, so they got to do what they got to do there. Face some legality there. I understand that.
John Rahm has 2 years left on his deal, apparently.
Yeah.
I get it. The PGA Tour could say no in a year, but it doesn't make sense to me that they would. The same reasons I saw an interview Tiger did yesterday, and he's like, well, the fans made it clear they want to see the best players play against each other.
I do.
So I think we still will in a year, and I think DeChambeau will still be that guy. They could slam the door on him, but I'm assuming it's still open for him. We'll see. And he did not make any comment about 2027. He's excited to see what they can do this year.
I know he's got to say that.
Yep.
I mean,
he left the door open.
Problem is that the fans aren't excited to see what you can do. We're going to see you play 4 times.
That's it. There it is.
That's it. Other than that, where are you? Who are you? No. Yeah, where are you? Not who are you, but where are you? When are you? I don't know. Whereas I have a flavor for decades on how the PGA Tour rolls.
Yep. We know courses. We know the rhythm of the year.
Right.
You've been to a bunch of them.
I've been to all the ones on the West, yeah.
DJ and PK.
#NHL.
Carcone back for Marino. This way for Nate Schmidt, left circle. One-timer, they score! Michael Carcone finds pay dirt, and it's 1-0. So far this evening, and it's 2-0. Gunther on the attack again. He scores again! Dylan Gunther goes back-to-back, and he's trigger-happy tonight. 3-0 Mammoth. Sergachev diagonally, Peterka towards the net, tapped on goal. Boots scores! Oh, these boots are made for walk and break out the Nancy Sinatra. It's his 3rd NHL goal.
Bravo, Mike.
Old school.
I like that guy. I like him a lot. He's got personality.
He has a ton of personality. Yeah. He's on with us every week. Yeah. He's always got something.
Yeah.
I was actually texting with somebody yesterday who thought his whole thing about 5'10" on the dating app was hilarious. It was just cracking him up.
He's got personality, man. And of all the Mammoth-related regular interviews, I think we got the best.
He's hilarious.
Yeah. That was a good one. They changed up the line, that one they're talking about, McBain and Gunther and Carcone, and what did they? They accounted for 8 points last night. And Torney talking about Gunther likes to play with McBain and blah, 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 and get going a little bit. And then the boot guy that he's talking about that they brought in this year, move him up to get him going some more. And so far, that was a brilliant move. It's 1 for 1. You can argue this was certainly one of the better ones, if not the best one they've had.
6-1. I'm used to seeing them grind out 3-2 and 2-1. There's been a lot of that going on this year. Not a lot of the 6-1s.
Fun night.
8-2 coming in.
As much as you talk about Gunther and McBain, which is a solid point, Daniil Boot and J.J. Peterka, 2 guys who weren't on the club last year. What's the difference? They are bringing new guys through, making an impact. Peterka's got 16 goals and 16 assists after last night.
This boot was made for scoring.
There you go.
And that's just what they'll do. Nancy Sinatra. Are you ready, Boot? Start scoring. Play that when we come back.
So they've taken 7 points out of a possible 8 on the homestand so far. They still got 3 more left. Making a little move in the standings here. January's been good to them because they were good on the road with those games in New York and New Jersey.
Well, life's been good to them so far.
Yeah. Homestand continues tomorrow. The Dallas Stars will be in town. A little earlier start for that one. The puck will drop at 7 o'clock.
What was that, a backup game for TNT? Is that why it was so late?
Exclusive ESPN Plus and Hulu.
And they treat Hulu like, even though in streaming the games can overlap, I think they like to go from one to another and have one seg into the other. So it was a late start.
All right.
To win Ticket Wednesday, people, we got tickets to give away to Pro Skijor. They're going to return to Heber January 16th. We'll be giving away those tickets. Riley Jensen's going to be here at 8, Tim LaComb at 8:30. And we are talking football next. DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utes getting mixed news, and we'll get to that next.
You've been listening to The Zone for decades. Yes! But now you can watch the guys break down your favorite teams.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Catch the video stream of DJ and PK, Jake and Ben, Hanson, Scotty, and JJ and Alex right now at KSLSports.com or by searching KSL Sports on YouTube. Utah's best sports radio is on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Hanson, Scotty G at Tim Dolly Mazda this Friday, noon to 3. 107-85 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy.
Well, you shouldn't be a messin'. Yeah. There's a line in there that reminds me of you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be a truthin'. And that's just what they'll do. Why, I'm telling you, man, they don't make music like this anymore these days. Doon, 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 doon.
Question of the morning. Smith Snowden, the latest Utes lead from Michigan. How are you feeling about Kyle Whittingham's Utah legacy?
He keeps playing where he ought to be not messing.
Send him some lyrics right now. Brett says, legend stepped away as planned, so Scally, coach and waiting, didn't get strung along even more. Killer opportunity with Michigan, did what any decent coach with gas in the tank would do, and did it the way successful coaches do it, by building a killer staff. Good for him. Next man up at Utah, we're on the Scally train. Go Utes! Exclamation point.
Well, I do think that if they go 11-2 next year, it doesn't really matter. So winning pretty much solves anything. Whatever problem you got in terms of athletic competition, if you win, it's overlooked, doesn't matter, who cares? So hopefully for the Utes, when they take the field next year, they are as competitive in their games as they were this year. Obviously, they played 13 games, and except for one quarter, they weren't competitive. That's it. One quarter.
The fourth quarter of the Texas Tech game.
That is it.
4 quarters of BYU, competitive. Well,
I mean, the Kansas State game, I get it.
There were some non-competitive quarters, but those were all somebody else's problem. Yeah.
So when you think about it, so what is 13 times 4?
13 times 4 is 52, PK.
No, you knew that right off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, there's no way I couldn't have gotten that without pulling out my phone. So what'd you say, 54?
52.
52? So in 53 of them, they were competitive, right? Just that one quarter? You see where I'm going there with the math?
No.
You don't?
I'm just blocking out your math now. It's just going to mess with me.
All but one quarter of the season. Not a quarter of the season. The literal 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You play 15-minute quarters, right?
15-minute quarters.
Okay. I get confused between 12 and 15. And that's a really good season, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see how you argue otherwise. You didn't achieve the ultimate goal, but really there's only going to be one team that achieves the ultimate goal.
I get why you say that, but I think there are fans out there who will think, well, if they go 11-2 this year, if they'd had the players, which this doesn't necessarily work, but there are going to be people who believe if they had those players, they'd have gone 12-1. If they're 11-2 and they're not in the playoff,
but then take away the players that they brought in.
Right. I know.
You can't have it. You can't have it just one way.
And whoever replaces Smith Snowden, I assume that player is going to come in and make plays, or they wouldn't have gotten to 11-2. So you'd lose the plays that player made.
So that's my line of thought on these defections. Now, there's another line of thought that, okay, yeah, this is the way of the world. This is business.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an unusual set of circumstances involving this business to where you had somebody who had an option back in 2004 to go to his alma mater where he grew up on the street, where his mother still lives, and his father-in-law lived there, his wife lived there, his father-in-law taught at the university, and still has family there, hardcore, and it meant something to him, and he turned it down for you, and then stayed there, and then took you through 3 conferences, not 1, not 2, but 3. Takes you to the granddaddy. Not the Sugar Bowl, not the Fiesta Bowl, the granddaddy. And you were there. I was there, and many of yous were there, because I seen you. And I was up there on that stage doing that thing for KSL TV, and Jeremiah and Sam were interviewing me, and I'm going to town, and they're screaming, cut, it's over. And I knew that, and Jeremiah's getting a look of fear and panic in his face, but I was going, and this was my time, and you weren't taking the mic away from me, man.
Yeah, it was a noon show. It would be fine.
Yeah, but you should have I saw the look on his face,
I know.
and I'd been in television enough.
That you knew the look.
Yeah,
Like,
we got to go. But I was just getting started, man. This was my moment to shine. I'm standing outside. Sun is shining. San Gabe's Granddaddy Rose Bowl we've all seen that. Everyone's taking their picture there. And he got you there, not once, but twice. And he was there 21 years. So you got to factor that in, too. Not some Urban Meyer fly-by-night coach who probably would have taken guys if the rules weren't where they could have immediate eligibility, but that wouldn't have mattered as much because he was just a guy who's a carpetbagger, man. He was here, and then he comes back, and he's here for Fox, and we're standing there. What did he say? Oh, this is my favorite place to go. Shut up.
He did say
Why
that.
don't you run for office? My gosh, you're so full of it.
There are a lot of people channeling what you just said there. Ryan says, Kyle gave 20-plus years to the U. He's a legend, and you can't fault him for taking players. Utah just had not had to deal with a losing coach since Urban, let alone losing one in this new era of college football. Go Scally, go Witt, go Utes.
Well, go home, some might say. So I understand. I don't have it, but I understand some of our listeners having the angst and hurt and conflicted feelings.
Peter's there with the mixed emotions. He meant so much to Utah for 30 years. His departure, move to Michigan, does not seem to have been handled properly. I cannot blame any assistant coach or player for moving to Michigan. Sure is a step up in status. I don't believe Witt is or would break the rules, so no hard feelings. He could have been a figure in the Utah community for years to come, and that would seem to be gone now. Maybe after he retires from coaching, he'll be welcomed back.
Oh, I think there'll be a time there that will happen, but it's 10 years down the road now. At least minimum 5. And if he coaches the whole contract, that's 5 years. Well, you're not going to bring him back the next year. At that point, he's still got the aroma and scent of being a Michigan man, particularly if he has a lot of success, right? He won't have the duration of a Chamblackler or a Lloyd Carr.
But it doesn't mean he can't have the peak.
Right.
Especially in this era where teams are just going up and down so fast.
Yeah. So if he's winning 3 Big Ten titles and going to the playoff, and if things break right, winning the whole thing, he will be considered, I don't know, he'll be a legend in the coaching industry because you can already argue that he is. Maybe not a legend in Michigan lore, but he'll be an important figure. Anybody who wins a title will be at that place where they pack 100,000 every single game.
Well, you phrase this carefully. How are you feeling about Kyle Whittingham's Utah legacy? Because obviously he has a chance to create something in Michigan here. And obviously, as far as his national reputation, he's got a chance to further that
It's
big
already
time.
extremely high. The guy is universally loved.
Mm-hmm. And you could see it in the reaction to him taking the Michigan job.
Yeah, because he's always been so accommodating to these people. And media, we're nothing but dogs. You like us, and we're going to love you. And so he goes, and he's been everywhere. I swear Oprah's going to have a resurgence and bring him on. He's going to be on the couch.
He's been on a lot of national
He's been on every
platforms.
freaking national show.
You can Google him. Go watch them all.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, they all live at YouTube.
Every time I turn around, wow, I didn't want to overstay my welcome. I've heard the story like 1,000 times. It's now scripture. I keep reading it over and over again. I went to the Marriott last night, and there it was. I opened up the cabinet, the drawer there at bedside, and it was the Kyle Whittingham story.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Riley Jensen joins us at the top of the hour. We'll talk quarterback carousel with him. Get some playoff and title game picks, too. Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SEG Media at 8:30. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Do you think the Jazz will keep Will Hardy around when they're ready to start winning? Well, they keep giving him contract extensions, so my assumption would be yes. He coaches great offensive teams. Jazz are a great offensive team right now. But I don't know if he's a good defensive coach. I don't know. We haven't ever seen him coach a good defensive team. Is that a Will Hardy problem, or is that a personnel problem, or is that a scheme problem, or is that, if you know the team is not trying to win, defense is the last thing you're going to try and do, because defense stinks.
Bingo.
Playing defense is not fun at all.
Was Phil Jackson a great defensive coach? I have no idea,
Yeah,
honestly.
right. Who
But
knows?
you know why those were good defensive teams? Because Michael Jordan guarded.
And so did Scottie Pippen.
Period. End of story.
If your best player's guard,
you have to guard.
Yeah.
Is Dagnall a good defensive coach? I have no idea, honestly. But Shea's going to guard, so that means you're going to guard.
Yeah.
And Jalen Williams is going to guard, so that means you're going to guard.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, question of the morning, part 2. Hey, one guy's leading, Smith Snowden. We just talked about that in the last segment. But Devon Dampier is returning. How happy are you for him? And when Jeffrey,
For the Utes.
somebody came up with some coin. And Jim says, of course he's back. Michigan doesn't want him.
Yeah, I don't think they do want him.
They got their quarterback. Yeah.
There was some talk at Tempe because he's from that area. His high school coach is on the staff, literally, the tight ends coach, I believe. But they went in other directions, and so great. He's back. Effervescent kid, leader. Kids rally around him. Adults rally around him. He had a phenomenal game in the Vegas Bowl. Man, that was the best he probably ever played in his life. He was awesome. So, yeah, it's good news. Ultimately, the players are going to win you the games. The coach has got to put you in the position to win. The players got to go ahead and get the job done. And he comes back, and now he's going to have a connection to a new coordinator because obviously he had been with Beck in New Mexico, and that's not there. But, the mark of a good coach is tailoring what you can do, what you want to do to the player's skills. And everybody knows what Dampier can and can't do. And so run them out there with what they got, and I'm excited. I'm excited for them and for him. I mean, and the Ute program, which has been a model of stability and consistency for so many years, to where other coaches wanted to model it, literally, Dillingham.
To you at a Pac-12 Media Day.
And I was sitting talking to Kyle because they have a lunch break, and then it goes for about 2 hours, and then you can informally sit at the table with the coaches and chat them up. And I'm sitting right next to Kyle, the SID sports information director for the Sun Devils, who's been there forever, literally 30 plus years, knows me very well, comes over and wants me to meet him. So I'm standing. We can touch the back of Kyle's head. We're standing, and he's Dillingham. I want to be like him. If he extended his arm all the way out, his fingers would have hit Kyle's head.
Down the back of the head, and Kyle would have wondered what the heck was going on.
Right. And there was other people that were talking to Kyle once I stood up, and at that time he's a 31-year-old rookie head coach.
Why wouldn't he want to be Kyle?
Yeah.
20 years at a school.
Right.
In a place that's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there have been the model of consistency and stability, And then their ground got shaken underneath them a little bit here in the last 3 weeks. So they need some good news. And losing a local kid like a Smith Snowden, he grew up in the shadows, metaphorically, of the stadium, and he's given you some pretty good years. Plus, he's a really good kid, too, and a great representative for what you're trying to accomplish on and off the field. And with that in mind, that's a blow to lose somebody, especially, and you go back and forth here with this rivalry, and if a kid's being recruited by both and he chooses one, we got one over them. It's like if Tanavasa would have gone to Washington, say, I don't think it would be that big of a story. It still would have been a story, but the fact that he went there it's bothersome, right? You went to the enemy, so to speak, and Smith Snowden chose Utah, and then basically you don't just choose Utah once or your school once. If you come back, you choose them again and again. Yeah. Every year you come back, you choose them again. So he chose them 3 times, and then he leaves, and that's a blow. And so here, this is really good news that you got your quarterback back, your starting quarterback who put up a lot of production for you and a lot of points. A lot of points on that scoreboard last year were attributed to Devon Dampier. He's not perfect, but he still gave you a lot of production.
34 touchdowns, running and passing. And I think the other thing about having him back and having this two-headed monster, and yes, they can do creative stuff, and they can pull flank one of them out as a receiver and then put him in motion on the fly sweep, and everybody's worried about the option pass. You can really stretch the defense before you ever do anything. But Dampier carried the ball so much, and he largely stayed healthy. Now, Kyle would talk forever about a couple injuries, and he wasn't 100% for the Texas Tech game and all that. So it wasn't perfect health, but he carried the ball 146 times. You add in sacks, you add in the number of times he gets hit as he throws. That's a lot of hits to stay healthy for. And all you fans can remember multiple seasons that have been impacted by quarterback injuries. And for one of the rare times, they're going to go into a season with depth, and we're going to know it. Now, it turned out last year they had depth, but we didn't know that Ficklin was going to be able to come in and make some plays. And he didn't really have to carry the load.
I don't know what he is as a quarterback, though. I know what he is as a runner. Sensational.
Such a big part of the offense these days.
Right. But I really don't know what he is as a passer.
He has not had to carry the load in multiple games where there's a lot of film and he's scouted. That's a hurdle he hasn't had to clear yet.
He's electric with the ball in his hands. And he is a threat to go the distance if he gets any type of daylight. That's a fact. We'll see. But, I mean, at least you got that. Before, they didn't have anything. They were having to – they started Chris Stapleton in the bowl game. Luke, what's his last name? Bottari?
Luke Bottari, who's also headed to Michigan?
Now he's going to Michigan.
The Bottari Ferrari.
Yeah, I draw the line. You had to take Chris Stapleton? Couldn't we have kept Chris Stapleton? Has he cleaned it up, though? If you're going to be a coach, can you look like Chris Stapleton?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we do have Coy Detmer with the handlebar mustache thing going on. So
I thought Detmer had the full beard.
He did for a minute, but then when they announced him the other day, he had the handlebar mustache look.
All right, that's a little personality. But Chris Stapleton there and the tats, if I were him, I'd keep it. This is who I am. Take me as I am. That's always been my attitude. Take me as I am. You don't like it? What's your problem?
You knows what you can do.
Right.
Riley Jensen, talking football with him and quarterbacks with him next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined now by Riley Jensen, college football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
My guys, let's go.
So many football questions, quarterback questions, Utes, Cougars, Aggies. Let's start with one that involves 2 schools. Obviously, you watched Kevin McGivens' offense at Utah State. How similar is it to what Utah ran? Because Morgan Scalley said in his press conference that he showed film of the guys and said, guys, you recognize some of these concepts? How smooth a transition is this going to be with the new OC? What do you think?
Well, I think concepts are always the same. I think the awkwardness is always the language, right? So we all kind of speak the same language, but one speaks German, one speaks French, one speaks English. So the terminology is always just a little bit of a growth mode during spring ball, but it's not anything that's going to be so hard that they haven't run the concept before. So, look, Kevin McGivern is a fantastic person. And I think one of the things that I love about what I'm saying or what I'm seeing from Morgan Scally is he's hiring quality people. And, you know, in McGivern's case, people don't know it, but, I mean, he has over 20 years of coordinating experience. This guy's been around for a long time. He knows the state of Utah. He knows good quarterbacks. And I think he has the right mentality for a quarterback because he's really one of those guys that's just a calm in the storm. And I think he's probably looking forward, just personally, at an opportunity to, like, run the offense with the athletes that he's always wanted to have. I mean, look, when Utah gets off the bus right now, the athletes are as good as anybody in the country. And so you got to be pretty excited about that. Last year, Utah State's still rebuilding some things, but the offensive line was, in a lot of ways, atrocious. And so what Barnes was able to do, what McGivern was able to do with that offense, even with a bad offensive line, was pretty incredible. And so now you give them a good offensive line, I think Utah fans are going to be super excited.
We know that Jason Beck and Devon Dampier were a great marriage for 2 years, right? They lit it up in New Mexico, they moved up a level, and they lit it up in the Big 12. So now it's a new marriage here between the offensive coordinator and Dampier. How long does that take of an adjustment before both feel comfortable with each other?
I think it'll take through spring ball. I think there'll be lots of meetings. I mean, obviously Dampier's had a lot of success, so as the offensive coordinator, one of the things that you want to do is replicate the things that he did well. You also want to find out what he's comfortable with. You also want to push him a little bit during spring ball and see if there's some things that maybe you bring to the table that he hasn't run before that he could maybe run in your offense. And look, I've been thinking a lot about Dampier and about his career, and I'm getting to the point where I'm actually kind of tired of people complaining about his arms. Mm-hmm. This is a really, really dynamic quarterback, and the two things that you really improve on when you're playing football in college is strength and speed of processing. And those are the two things that will make up for arm strength anywhere. He's going to get stronger. His arm is going to get a little bit stronger. He might not ever be the guy that's throwing the ball 70 yards downfield, but it's kind of like Philip Rivers said. Dude, I never threw the ball 60 yards anyway. It's about me processing and throwing the ball on time. And I think what we saw in the bowl game is a quarterback that's starting to really understand what he does well and what he doesn't. He's starting to process the field faster, and he's starting to become stronger. And so that combination is going to be really, really good. I can't remember exactly what the stats were that we said before the season. It was something like, and don't quote me exactly, but I said something like, look, if he has 2,800 yards passing and 700 yards rushing, that's going to be a phenomenal year for the University of Utah. And sure enough, that's about where he was. I don't know exactly what the stats are. And it was a phenomenal season. I mean, 11-2. This was a really good football team. You know, they have some new coaches coming in, but they've got their quarterback. They've got a coordinator. And I kind of like what Morgan said. I go, he was like 2 years ago, everybody was worried too. We had a new coordinator coming in. We had a new quarterback. This time they only have a new coordinator coming in. I'm excited about Utah football.
Knowing Kevin a little bit, do you think he'll sit down with Dampier and say, explain the whole offense you ran to me? Tell me if he's watched films. So he's got some basic knowledge of it, right? But what did they tell you here? What did they tell you? What are you seeing? What are you doing? Does he break it down that and kind of reverse engineer what they did? Because obviously the last couple of years, one in New Mexico and one in Utah, that offense was flying.
Oh, no question. No question. Plus, look, coaches are the greatest thieves in the world. That's what's fun about being a coordinator is nobody makes you cite your sources. You don't have to put a bibliography on your offense at the end. You can steal whatever you want, man. You can call it yours. And so it's that's going on anyway. I think the interesting part for McGiven will be, okay, so when you're running, there's a concept out there called snag. Are you reading 1, 2, 3, or are you reading the flat defender and then the corner? Oh, we're reading it 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if you're reading it 1, 2, 3, how are you reading it? Are you reading it with the 1 receiver, the 2 receiver, the 3 receiver? Oh, we read the 3rd receiver as the first option, the 1st receiver is the 2nd option, and the 2nd receiver is the last option. Oh, okay. So you guys do that a little bit different than the way that we do it. It's the same route, but we read it a little bit different. And those are all good things for the offensive coordinator to understand so that when he's running those plays later, that he understands what Dampier's default setting is.
Did you say snag?
Yeah, it's called a snag concept.
See, I grew when I moved here. I was not here less than 24 hours, and I moved into my house, and I get a knock on the door, and it's this lady. We're literally moving in the house. She still came over. She's a member of SNAG, Standing Neighbors Against Gangs, and this is a true story. And she said, and we literally have the moving van in the driveway because we set it up. We moved into a house we bought, and so I was working for the newspaper, and they moved me, paid for my moving. So the moving van is literally in the driveway. Guys are moving stuff in. And she says, yeah, I'm with SNAG, Standing Neighbors Against Gangs, because we're really tired of these gangs and these people moving from California and ruining our lives. Yeah. And so she sees me moving in, and she says, where are you moving from? I was moving from California.
Awkward.
Hey, can you give me her number? She might be the most successful president in the state in the state at anything. Because I mean, she clearly eradicated any gang members and gang stuff going on in Sandy. So I want to know who she is because she did a phenomenal job. Sandy has really gotten rid of the Crips and the Bloods from what I can see.
Out of fear and some respect, I took off my bandana.
Riley has such an enthusiastic laugh.
Dude, that's funny. That's good stuff right there.
That's what I'm here for, man.
There you go.
I can't break down the option or the offense. I never ran through the A gap.
That's why we keep you around, PK. That's why we keep you around. Good stuff right there.
I'm more the F gap myself.
With all the changes.
Wow.
So many. Keep moving, Riley. Just keep moving.
I know.
With so many changes and all these coaches coming and going and all these players coming and going, BYU's kept their offensive coordinator and their quarterback. And we're hearing from, the Eagles right now because they're going to have a fifth quarterback. Is that fifth offensive coordinator in 5 years? Is that helping Jalen Hurts' development? We heard that with Alex Smith. All right, well, here's the positive side of that coin. What do you expect as far as development at the quarterback position now with Bear Bachmeier getting a second year with A-Rod?
Well, I want to talk about Bear, but let's just mention this about BYU. I'm really excited about University of Utah. I'm also really excited about BYU for this reason. They might be the only team in the country that's retained all of their best players. I think Jay thought he was going to get Glasker, Trey, Evan Johnson, Tanavasa, and Satawala to go to Michigan, and they all stayed. And then you've got on the offensive side, you got Bear, LJ, and Parker who all stayed. And they're added some dudes that are going to take the next step. And, I'm excited. They also retained TJ Woods and Gilbride as coaches. They both had offers to leave. These are all positives so far for BYU. It must be exhausting as a coach nowadays to have to recruit all of your players every 6 months, especially after a good season, right? Yeah. Like, it's got to be exhausting. I can't even imagine that you have to go back every 6 months and say, hey, Glasker's got an offer from Michigan. How much do we have in the budget? You know what I mean? Like, right. It's got to be exhausting. And granted, they're probably not matching dollar for dollar, but they're matching. Like, look, dude, you already have a good thing going here. the grass is greener where you water it, you know? And sometimes you go, and God, me and my wife were just talking about this the other day. She gets a promotion at work, and we're talking about the fact that, like, hey, last time I took a job for money, it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. You know what I mean? It wasn't that fun. And so these are good experiences for these young kids because they get to learn how to, like, navigate life. I think it's just really, really hard on coaches, though. They're like, geez, man, I thought I already went through all this. Now I got to go through it every 6 months.
Yep, that's reality.
Look, Bear Bachmeier could be the sophomore. He could be the sophomore slump, or he could be, you know, the phrase that we always use that everybody makes the most growth between their first and second year. If I were to give Bear truth serum, he's got to take the next step on understanding what he's trying to read. Now, one of the things that I know is that they do, and I don't know if you guys saw the Kirk Cousins video where he broke down, like, reading defenses and progression offenses. But there's two types of offenses where you're reading a defender and you're making a decision based on where he works or where he's going to go. And then the other type of offense is that you just read number 1 to number 2 to number 3, and if they're open, take it. And a lot of offenses are switching to what we call this progression offense, which is 1 to 2 to 3, because defenses are getting a lot better at hiding defenses and confusing you on what their look is. So it simplifies things for quarterbacks. But what gets tricky about a progression offense, which is what BYU runs, is if you're reading 1 to 2 to 3, you also have to have a concept of, like, if I just stay on this first read a little longer, it might open in this window. But when you read 1 to 2 to 3, a lot of times you might look at 1 and go, nope, he's covered. And then you go to 2 and he's covered, and 3, he's covered. But really, if you just would have hung on for an extra half second for the first option, he's wide open. And so for me, the next progression for Bear is to understand that you don't come off that first and second read too quick when you're in a progression offense. And hopefully I've kind of explained that. That's really hard to explain without a chalkboard. But that's where I think he needs to make the progression. Is there's sometimes when the first read is over the middle that he comes off real quick and then he goes to his corner and his flat route, because those are generally safer because you can throw it to your receiver or out of bounds and you're taking care of the football. But if you're holding on to the ball for a little bit more to throw it over the middle, that can make you anxious as a young quarterback.
You were at North Carolina State when Cignetti was there. They're 26-2 since he has been there in his second season. Before that, they had 14 out of 16 seasons were losing. And one of those, they went 8-5, and then the other one was the COVID, which was a screwed-up season. So we're talking about a real crummy program, and now we're on top of the world. What is your insight as far as when you were there with him? I believe he was on the offensive side of the ball, so you had some interaction with him. Tell us about him.
So Cignetti, I mean, I tweeted out some fun facts about Cignetti. First of all, his dad was a Hall of Famer at a school called Indiana University, Pennsylvania, and then he was the head coach at West Virginia. Cignetti played at West Virginia behind Oliver Luck, who, if you know anything about football, is the father of Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
So he was the backup to Andrew Luck's dad at West Virginia. And then his brother has been on the staff as a quarterbacks coach for like 8 different NFL teams, Boston College, Fresno State, North Carolina. This is a coaching family. The one insight that I would give you about Cignetti that I think is kind of funny is he's coming across really, really cocky right now and really arrogant. And he is a very, very buttoned down, very, very, like, he knows exactly how he wants the picture to look. And he does a really good job of setting expectations with players. But some of this cockiness is actually just his quirkiness. Like, he's a little bit quirky. He's a little bit goofy behind the scenes. I really like Cignetti. But he was like one of those coaches that he got his blinders on and he was like really focused on something. And if you if you kind of jostled him from that moment, he got really like kind of sideways a little bit. And he'd get all quirky, like, geez, I was in the middle of that. Why are you guys interrupting me? And he gets really, really frustrated when he can't just do what he wants to do. But if you listen to him closely, he repeats all of his answers. He doesn't really give much. He uses a ton of coaching cliches. It would drive you nuts, PK, all the cliches that he uses, because it's all about like, well, we got to get a hat on a hat. We got to make sure that, we got to – well, the team that, outscores the other team wins. The team that wins the turnover battle wins. At the end of the day, you got to block and you got to tackle and you got to attack. Like it's all the same answers. And I love watching him have success because I just remember how quirky he was. Like, it's just like, this quirky guy is 26-2. You know what I mean? And he's learned a lot since he was with me. I mean, he's been to Alabama. He's been a head coach at 2 different places. So he's got all of these experiences that he's kind of put together. And, shoot, man, he's making a lot of money right now.
Riley, we always feel like we make a lot of money when we get to talk to you for 20 minutes. We're definitely
That's
rich
what
here.
I'm talking about, guys. Why am I always carrying this show?
You're just that talented. You put the ball in the hands of your playmaker. Throw rocks at pigeons.
That's right. Like Bobby Petrino used to say, FTS, feed the studs, Riley. You're not one of them.
Riley, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again.
Have a great day, guys.
Okay, see ya. DJ and PK, Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SEG Media. Coming up next, stay with us.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bass!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. Call at 12 right now. 801-575-ZONE wins a pair of tickets to watch Pro Ski Jour return to Heber January 16th. Get your tickets at proskijor.com. 801-575-ZONE. Call right now. DJ PK, we're joined by Tim LaComb, Utah Jazz analyst for SEG Media. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing today, everybody?
We are doing well. I am curious if you could define for us the importance of one or two good players on everybody else in a roster, or the importance of height, because putting Nurkic and Markkanen back in the lineup after a dismal, horrific 55-point loss at home and then winning on the road, that was night and day. That was they did it, as Karl Malone once said, they did a complete 360. Can you explain to us what happened, or is it more about, hey, we got hope now, and just playing with hope does that?
No, I honestly, watching him enough, and the 2 games prior to Charlotte, really played well. Defense started to kind of make some moves, and the offense is just continually climbing. Another game the other night of over 30 assists, but the Charlotte game was a stinker. There's no way around it. I walked into the Spanish broadcast prior to the game the other night, and after the 55-point loss, and said 55, and they kind of looked up at me and laughed, and I asked them, I like, what are we in for tonight? And honestly, it was different. And you mentioned Nurk was back and Lowry was back, but Nurk's been big. There were a lot of really smart GMs on Twitter last year that just ripped the Jazz for the move. But in reality, when you look at it with what's happened to Walker, Nurk's become really important. Last 10 games, 18, 10, and 6 he's averaging. And, to be able to have a big guy that can do kind of that bulky work, but also aid on the offensive end and facilitating It's rolling screening. He's a great screener. So he's important to the team. And when he's gone, they do not have anyone that can fill that role. I mean, he goes out and instantly, I love Kevin Love, but he's a totally different player. And his backup is Flip, So there is some explanation, I think, as to why things went so bad against Charlotte. But it was extra bad. And then to bounce back, and Nurk said that after the game, the response is really what they were excited about. The game against Charlotte is what it is, but they were able to go back out on the road and win in a really tough place to win. And so I think, there's a lot in your statement, but I think Nurk is pretty darn important to this club. And then Lowry has been one of the two guys playing like an all-star. And so I don't know, man. As I get away from Charlotte, I kind of write it off as a stinker a little bit. But the Cleveland win, that was impressive.
I'm glad you love Kevin Love, because I always say you should love who you love. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. So
I think you love the one you're with.
That was bound to be said.
Well, not true, because I'm with DJ every day, so I would disagree with that.
No, maybe Jake.
Well, hate the guy in the morning, love everybody else.
Okay, that's a good philosophy. I'm going to ask you a big picture question. What does this team need to get to 45 wins?
I think they're darn close, honestly. I do believe that this is kind of the last year of wondering what, the end game is going to be. When you think about what's transpired over the last few years, but let's just talk about this year. I mean, Keontae George, his ascension, his play, his attitude. I don't know if y'all heard his post game in Cleveland the other night, but it is night and day different. The level that he's playing at on the floor, but then his maturity level is really, he's really raised that. And so Jazz really, in theory, have two guys that are pretty much night in and night out getting 50 points together. They've got a really special big guy on the shelf, a guy that protects the rim, runs the floor, rebounds.
Right. So they've got those three pieces. They
got those three pieces, but the guy that Ace came in and played about 8 minutes in the fourth quarter the other night, and he had a couple of defensive possessions. He had a offensive possession that isn't like what you'd think from a star. He got an offensive rebound and in mid-air threw that thing to Nurk for a layup. Yeah. Ace makes winning plays. And so I'm going to add Ace to the really positive column. I think what we're seeing from Keontae is, in terms of ascension, that's in Ace's future. To that level, I don't know. But I really do believe the Jazz are drafted well. Isaiah Collier is a guy who changes pace, when he comes in off the floor, and he does something at such a high level, and that's assist. That's been a big breakthrough this year. Last year, the Jazz, in 82 games, had 16 games where they were over 30 assists. And, they'll blast that. If they're not already by it now, they're pretty darn close. And so just the whole team, things change. So to answer your long question, I think it's next year peak. I really do. I think we're at 45. With just the addition
next year, 45?
Next year, 45.
Oh, I'd take that right now.
Next year, 45.
Sign me up.
I would have said 40. But I said 30 at the start of this year, and you said 34. You're always a little more optimistic than me. But I do think that they're going to get to 30 if they don't tank. Are they going to shut people down after the All-Star game? I've had people say to me, and I'm sure you have too, the Jazz are not losing this pick. People inside the organization who I assume know exactly what's going on, they're not losing this pick.
Yeah, and
but
so
they're going to win 30 if they don't sit people.
What that means we don't know yet. It remains to be seen. But I guess my point is, there's so many people that think we're just in this vast wasteland, and I've been fortunate to have that seat from the very beginning. When trades were announced, acquisitions were made. I've been able to sit in that chair and watch what's going on. And I will tell you, last year was not fun at all. There were pieces of it, that you could kind of dig into. I really enjoyed watching Walker Kessler battle last year, honestly. And that's what I kind of have to take it down to that level. But there are so many positive things going on right now. And the idea that there is a war chest full of picks, we're still sitting on those high picks that we moved. That's still coming down the road. We've got all sorts of money. We're sitting in the good spot this year for another pick. I just believe that, the Jazz are definitely not resting on their laurels. They're drafting these dudes. They're working their tail off. And I'm seeing guys get better. Not just better players, but better fits to the system. And so, I mean, maybe it's outlandish to say that, but me sitting there watching it night in and night out, watching Will Hardy, kind of go above and beyond. Like, his relationship with these guys is real. There's a lot of hype and promotion and all sorts of stuff out there in the basketball world. But again, I sit in this seat. I watch Will do his thing an hour and a half before the game. I see him during the game. I hear him after the game. So I'm able to kind of see a pretty unique piece. And I think they're on the right track.
Feels like the piece that's missing is the piece at the top. When you ask your third best, a guy who should be the third best player to be the best player, you ask the guy who's the fourth best player to be the second best player, that's where you end up coming up short. And fans get frustrated with them and don't realize they're good in a certain role, but now they're being asked to do too much.
Okay, but
and if you dump them, then you got to replace them all. So it seems like we can sit here and argue about 40 or 45 and who the heck knows, right? But this group can definitely get better, can definitely get pretty good, but I can see how this group could get stuck in the middle pretty easily as well.
Yeah, but let's get to the middle first and worry about that after.
Amen.
But then if you can't bring in big-time free agents and if you don't have access to top trades at that point, either you find Giannis in the middle of the draft, like you found Stockton Malone in the middle of the draft, or you have to make the kind of big trade that right now doesn't seem to be happening in the NBA.
Yeah, but you're borrowing worry for the future, and we haven't even gotten there yet.
I'm looking at the big picture, PK.
I don't want to worry about 2030 until I get to get to 45.
Yeah, I get what Tim's saying. The improvement is happening, and there's it's building blocks and one step at a time and all that stuff. And they're trying to not look quite as good as they could look
right now.
The resting guys.
But next year we got 45.
But here's my point,
and 45
guys.
has been a great number for this country, I might add.
Exit stage left.
Exit stage left.
Let me give that some time. Okay. No, I mean, you just said it. The Jazz, with Nurkic at center and Walker on the bench and Love and Flip coming in, they literally are improving, getting better. I mean, if you imagine Walker's out there this year going at full tilt and you're bringing those dudes off the bench. So that's my point is Jazz fans, there's a segment of Jazz fans that all they do is complain because we're in a rebuild, period. And they don't look any deeper than that. And there's some people that just look at box scores. And you're not going to get anything out of that stuff. You've got to be in tune with what's going on. You got to understand what's going on. And I think that's when DJ doesn't come to the booth. I'm privy to that because I can watch the games.
Oh,
because otherwise he's too fun and we just talk the whole time.
See, that's why I stay away because I allow you to flourish.
You'd come in and steal everybody's air. So does that make sense? I think there's obviously things that still have to happen, but growth, there's things being added to the house. It was down to the studs, and now we've got this deck on it,
right. And I go along the lines where if management got the players to get to 45, then I have more faith in management to get the team to 55. And if you get to 55, then you're in the mix.
And then it's just who else is on the board, right? Is Jordan out there? What's the situation at the time? That's the other piece of this. There's so many variables. that you can't control. You can really only focus on what
right,
you got.
and the other guy screws up. They draft DeAndre Ayton and who's the other guy? Marvin Bagley when Doncic is still sitting there.
Or Sam Bowie.
Or Sammy B. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots to play out, but I think we're on the favorable side of the ledger. I guess that's my point.
Well, thank goodness they beat Cleveland, or else we would say, I guess this sucks. If they had 2 stinkers in a row, but they didn't. They played well. And something's going on with Cleveland, but that's their problem.
Yes, it is. A very big one, too. And might I add, the Jazz are holding some very valuable picks.
Next 27 and 29 drafts.
So we're supposed to be enlightened and not boo Donovan Mitchell when the reality is we want them to suck.
Absolutely.
Which might have been why we, beat them, just to add a little bit more decay to the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've seen something's going on. They've got cracks there. Yeah. I mean, the Department of Health might come in and condemn that place.
Too much caffeine.
I don't know what it is, man. It's Cleveland. The mistake by the lake.
Tim, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Yeah, we sure do.
Hey, you're welcome. I was waiting for the hook, and that was as good as it's ever been. So I'm slowly walking off the left side of the stage.
Okay, I'll see you. Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SEG Media. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
It's official. The 2027 Winter Classic going to get played at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Here's what's cool about this is a fan base and this is a state that knows how to fill up a stadium even if it's cold. And it's one of those deals where I think that a lot of folks are not just excited about it. It's another tip of the cap to the folks at SEG. Frankly, they're pulling out all the stops to make sure that everybody gets visibility in this market, which is what you need.
We're growing up as a sports market, and this is a sign of that. The passion you see in the Delta Center, in their barn, every night they play at home. And then to get an event like this coming to town at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And we're not far off from the 2034 Winter Olympics. Mm-hmm. You just see all these things happening. Just insane the amount of growth we're seeing when it comes to sports. And this is just the next big thing.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready for unbeatable deals? At Tim Daly Nissan Southtown, drive home a new Sentra starting at just $19,900. Need more space? Get up to $9,000 off new Pathfinders. Or grab a rugged Frontier for as low as $399 a month. With 99% approval, 0 down, and 90 days until your first payment. There's never been a better time to buy. Plus, every vehicle comes with a Tim Daly Forever warranty. Only at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown.
The Mr. Mac Utah County High School Players of the Week. This week, Lillian Nolan from Mazer Preparatory Academy and Jackson McQuistion from Timpanogos High. Nolan, 28 points, 13 steals, and a win over Roland Hall. Followed it up with 19 points and a win over UMA Hillfield. McQuistion scored 20 points in a rivalry win at Mountain View and followed up with 25 points in a victory over Uinta. The Utah County Player of the Week Award proudly presented by Mr. Mac. No one buys, no one sells, no one cares the way they do. Absolutely no one.
You see our guy, what was it yesterday? Ryan Smith had a hole-in-one at Pebble Beach.
7th hole, 107 yards.
Danny Ray was there with him.
Celebrating on the tee.
Yeah. And, you know.
It's a beautiful day. They played 36.
Money doesn't really matter that much.
If you got it.
BS.
Audrey and I are playing 36 at Pebble anytime soon? Not
0.
Good. Yeah, not good.
I'll never play Pebble Beach. I had a coach would play it, and then he'd text me various holes just to taunt me.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I ain't giving it up. Oh, I guess I can. Yeah. He lives in Michigan now. Doesn't matter anymore, huh? Yeah. You wonder, you know, and the Ainge is right there with him. You wonder if that, if this thing would go south, are they too close?
I did wonder that when he was running it, but I think Austin is running it now. Is he so close he couldn't fire him?
Yeah,
Right.
that's the point.
And that's what the Ravens just went through. And the Ravens literally, fired my friend after 18 years. Now they had enough success along the way.
18 years, yeah.
18 years, and they won a Super Bowl. It's not like they weren't doing anything. Plenty of playoff appearances,
Yeah.
AFC title games.
But this relationship is more than just friends.
It is, right. And so if it goes wrong, how do you end it?
Yeah. Because
now, I guess, because I do feel like now start over with Austin. Austin can't be held accountable for any decisions or can't be congratulated for any decisions made in the last 3 years.
Well, then in 5 years from now, if that doesn't work, can you fire your buddy's friend?
Can you fire your buddy's
son?
friend? That is a good question. So it needs to work.
I understand what you're saying. I get that.
I think Ryan would say, well, that's not going to happen, so you don't have to worry about it.
Doesn't matter. This is all hypothetical.
It is hypothetical. And I can see where that would be hard. And there's probably examples in history where friendships have been wrecked over business and other places where businesses or other stories where businesses have been wrecked over friendship.
Mm-hmm. I think you said the same thing twice there. But
the friendship gets wrecked over the business. So the business flourishes, but the friendship's wrecked. Or the business fails because it kept the friendship intact. I'll never fire you. We'll go down together. And then the ship goes down.
I don't know
it goes
about that
down
first part. If you flourish in making money, you're my best buddy. So I just wondered, because, I was down in Palm Springs a few years back because they let the amateurs play, and there both of them were.
Yeah.
And doing all that, it makes you wonder if that move could be done. Now, hopefully it doesn't have to be done, so you don't have to worry about it. But it's legitimate concern if you're a fan.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have the right to tell fans what to think.
Nope. And fans have been thinking about this for a while. I don't think what you said is brand new.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it a lot, but as this unfolded, how long is this going? Is Ainge going to do this? And is he going to hold Danny accountable? I do think there was a certain amount of arm twisting that went into it.
In what terms of what?
In terms of Ryan hiring Danny Ainge.
How so?
Ainge said he didn't want to do it anymore. He quit in Boston. And he comes to Utah and he says, well, I'm going to do it, but Jay-Z's going to do a lot of the work. I'm going to do it, but basically Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'm not here for 80-hour weeks. But when everybody else is working 80 hours, can you win if you're not? If you work 40 and they work 80 and your job is to scout players, do they see that many more players? Do you sit aside an organization now
I'm worried
where they're
about
all
quality,
so big?
not quantity.
I get it.
Just because you're working 80 hours a week doesn't mean
there's people working 80 hours a week are going to go 25 and whatever and get fired. I'm 100% convinced
for all
of
of
that.
LaComb's optimism, which he has, it's not going well. They're losing.
Yeah.
This is their fourth or fifth year without the playoff.
Sometimes on purpose. I know, but they're losing to protect the draft pick.
Irregardless, what difference does it make to the fan?
I think
the fan wants him to win. They're not winning.
But the draft pick was done by somebody who's already been held accountable and works
doesn't matter.
Now.
They're losing.
Yes.
You can spin it any way. You can defend them any way you want. The fan doesn't care about that. They are losing. They're not a playoff team. They won't be a playoff team now. And to say that they're going to go to, in order to keep the draft pick, what's the maximum amount of wins that they can get?
That depends on how much everybody else tanks in the second half of the season. But I think I think at 25 they're probably okay. They get to 30, I'm really nervous. So, it might work, but I'm really nervous at 30.
All right, so 25. Now we got LaComb guaranteeing us 45. How many teams have gone 20 games better? Hardy Coach of the Year, Double-A Executive of the Year. I wouldn't be planning on that.
Okay.
That's a huge jump, a 20-game improvement from one season to the next.
What if you're artificially low, though, because you were tanking the year before?
I don't give a crap. They're not the only team to be doing this. How many of them how many times have teams improved 20 games?
I will have to look that up. I do not know that number for you off the top of my head.
And the Jazz aren't the only one who's ever done this. It's been done.
It looks like the Spurs will probably take a 20-game jump this year. They were 34 last year. I think they'll get to 54.
Okay, how many teams that haven't even won 30 games?
So what do you think? What do you think about a 10-game jump? Because that's what I'm saying, going from 30 to 40.
Depending on the moves they make, I think they can get to.
Yeah.
I said 45 specifically.
Right.
That's my mind. That's my goal. Depending on the moves, if they don't make very many moves and don't get the draft pick, then or draft 8th, then probably not. I want to be optimistic too.
I thought it was a 30-win team all year. I still think it's about a 30-win team. And that is factoring in that you get some games gift wrapped for you because you get to play people when they're tanking. Because to your point, there are a lot of other people tanking.
They're always going to be.
Right. And so I think that, and that's why the regular season wins more than ever. And you argued this when we weren't on the air together. We would talk about this before a game. Late in the season, college basketball's over, and you'd be over writing some sidebar in the Jazz, the opponent, whatever. And you'd be in the meeting room, you're like, regular season wins. That's great because people paid their money, but it's really about the playoffs. That's the legacy. Yeah. And so I can see how they get to the middle. I really can. I can see guys getting better. I can too. And I can see them getting in the middle. And there is a path clearly to get better, but that involves a little bit of a break, a big move we can't predict. And the playoff success, they got to get past 40 or 45, whatever. They got to be past that if they're going to have real playoff success.
Sure.
And get back to a conference final, let alone the NBA title everybody talks about. Just get to a conference final for the first time. And it's going to be 20 years. This is going to be a pretty long streak. And they know it in the building. They feel it. Jay-Z's brought it up in front of a microphone, sitting up on a podium talking to the media.
Yeah, but if you get to 45, man, you got to have a lot of things going for you. And then you can build. I'd rather be building upon a lot of good things than a non-playoff.
Keep the pick, get lucky, get an impact guy. Hope Ace Bailey develops into an impact guy. This is an impact guy. Then you can see the path.
And you got
to
Kessler,
stuff
and you got
beyond.
the
Right.
other
Then
two
you
that
can
are
see.
playing well. Yeah,
then you can see the path past 40. Okay, they'll get to the middle, but they're going to move past the middle.
Sure.
They're going to get
into
the
the
upper
And then all of a sudden,
third.
I don't need Hendricks and Williams to be
It's a bonus.
big rotation player. I just need them to come in and do a little bit.
Yep.
So their value increases.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hans and Scotty G at Tim Daly Mazda this Friday from noon to 3, 107-85 South Automall Drive in Sandy. Question up on our Facebook page. Smith Snowden, the latest Utes elite from Michigan. How are you feeling about Kyle Whittingham's Utah legacy? And mostly people are upbeat. It seems like most people who are commenting at this point are go Morgan, go Kyle, go Utah. That was the overwhelming feedback here. What do you think Kyle can do for his legacy nationwide? Because everybody is looking back at his Utah time, and we both know Kyle well enough to know Kyle is not looking back at his Utah time. Kyle is trying to build a Michigan roster and thinking, how do I beat Oklahoma? How do I beat Oregon? How do I beat Indiana? How do I beat Ohio State? That's what Kyle's focused on right now.
And then Utah in the playoff.
That would be so sweet. You think it's semifinal?
You would think it's sweet that he would beat Utah in the playoff?
Think it's how he would beat is what he'd think. What I would think is they are playing, and that is an enormous story.
But that's not what I said. I said that they're beating Utah in the playoff, and you said that would be so sweet.
How are you beating is what you built on. It would not be sweet.
What you built on.
It will not be sweet for us because we root for the show, and when have we ever rooted against local teams?
Yeah, but just to get to the playoff.
To get to the playoff would be awesome.
Yeah.
The week leading up to Michigan versus Utah and Michigan versus BYU would also be pretty sweet.
Well, the season leading up to that game because you'd have to
and you'd have everything have to go. That would be fantastic.
Well, I think that to answer your question, that it would enhance his reputation. He would be big time. It's like because I think people looked at Utah. They're like a cute program, and look what all he's done there with limited talent available, and which I think is overstated because the talent here in the state, they'll tell you, has gotten a lot better. My wife would tell me when she was teaching, every Tom, Dick, and Harry would run through the school.
100%.
And they would talk to her because she had students that were players, blah, blah, blah. And
people
they're
like
doing
her,
their research.
People like her are exactly why they come to schools to visit.
Yeah.
They can watch the film and talk to the high school coach on the phone.
Right. Right.
There was a reason Steve Fisher, who built the San Diego State program, knew the name of the person who sat at the front desk, whatever their title was, at every school. Because they watch kids walk by. They know who's in and out of the principal's office.
They do.
They know.
Absolutely. 100%.
And he wants to know what they know.
Right, exactly.
Character matters.
And which is why I had NBA executives call me when the Utes were doing well. Tell me about the kid.
Right.
And I'd start to break down the basketball. And they said,
Like,
shut up.
I know about the basketball.
I know I wouldn't do that. I knew why they were calling.
Right.
And so with that in mind, that's the perception. And nationally, that's never going to change. And so now he's with the big time. And if he wins big time, it's like this guy is one of the greatest coaches of all time. And he's so friendly to us that they're going to love him up as much chance as they possibly could. Nobody said, what are you doing? You're hiring a 66-year-old?
That did not get said.
Who quit at the other place?
This guy is meat and potatoes football. He fits Michigan.
Nobody.
This guy doesn't have all these sketchy stories in his past. Michigan's got 3 super sketchy stories in the last 3 years.
That's why I wrote about it and called him Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
And so, but everything was praised. The fact that he was older and moving across the country with no connection to the Big Ten, nobody ever brought that up.
No.
And it was just the greatest hire that they could possibly make. The best 2 hires, because you always see that, they'll rank the hires during the cycle. 1, 2, Kyle Whittingham, Kiffin, in whichever order, right? But it was universally praised. And now if he goes and wins at the level that is required, it's going to be, wow, he is
I wonder what's
right up there with the best.
So what's required? 10-2 and in the playoffs?
Oh, I think.
Ultimately, you got to win the conference.
The national title.
Right. Ultimately, you got to win the conference, and if you win that conference, you can win the whole thing. Look at the last 2 years, and I think we all think Indiana's going to beat Miami and make it 3 in a row for 3 different schools.
Yeah, he's going to have to do that.
Yeah.
The standard is through the roof. It just is.
Yeah, I saw a thing that Oregon is 25-3 or 26-3 in 2 years in the conference, but they don't have a conference title or a national title.
Well, plus they've been getting blown out the last 2 years. The 2 years in the playoff, they got blown out. The playoffs been blown out.
Yeah, and even the Indiana home loss was pretty decisive.
Yeah, but
they had a pick 6 that helped them save face, and it doesn't matter as much because the playoffs still coming.
Right.
And by the time they lost that game, everybody could say, well, Ohio State lost twice last year and still won the title, so let's see how it goes.
You look at TCU, man, they had a really good run, but they got blown out in the final.
Mm-hmm.
BYU doesn't make the playoff because they got blown out. Now, I have my doubts if they would have made it either way, but they gave them that opportunity to criticize it. You got blown out both as like 63 to
there was
12
no
or
expectation.
Something.
Everybody knew with this blowout, they're not getting in.
Right.
You could think they should, but you knew they weren't.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think they have to get there and then not get blown out. It's if you go, say Miami beats them 31-27. You're going to tell me that's a bad season for Indiana? Now, Indiana might be a different story because they're Johnny-come-lately, but like Ohio State losing in the first round, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Can't have that. Their first playoff, right? If they get to the final and lose, and it's a tough game, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. So I think that's far greater understanding, and I don't think he'll be under any heat if he does that. But if we're sitting here in 2030 and they have 0 playoff appearances, not good.
Yeah, I would think he's not there in 2030 without a playoff appearance before then. I get your point. The expectations are too high.
Well, I mean, depends. If they go 11-2
27,
and don't
28,
make it.
29. Oh, yeah, but I don't think a 2-loss team. And I think in one of his many national interviews, I think I heard him say that.
I know Sharon Moore was not going to get fired, and they went 9-3.
But that was only after 2 years.
Yeah, but last year sucked.
So 4 years he's got to be in the playoffs. 2030 is the 5th. Yeah.
Okay, 28 and whatever. Yeah. I'm getting sidetracked on whatever.
Okay.
The point being.
The point is, A, you got to get there, and then B, pretty soon you got to be winning when you get there.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
But he knows that full well. This is Zippo on the surprise meter here.
Yeah.
He gets it. And I think they're going to have an excellent chance to do it.
This will shock you because I am schedule guy. I've already looked at it, and I've already figured 10-2. Now the rosters aren't
they're
set.
scheduled this coming season?
It's tough. They got Oklahoma for a non-league game.
I know.
I think they can win that.
It's at home.
They've got Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State are all on the schedule. And oddly, out of those three, but I think the game that he most needs to win is Ohio State. But we've seen him coach against Ryan Day. They had the better team. I mean, Whittingham punched above his, you have an NFL quarterback. Ohio State had an NFL quarterback and NFL wide receivers all across the field. Even though they were missing a couple NFL receivers, they just plugged in more future NFL receivers.
Incredible talent.
Yeah. And Kyle's starting a running back.
That's what he's going to get at Michigan.
And Kyle had a running back at defensive back out of necessity. And he had to play the fourth quarter with a walk-on quarterback, and it's a 3-point game.
I think that
Michigan will be
Ohio State can get talent-wise, Michigan will be able to get. The one thing that I am concerned, but I think it's changed dramatically, it used to be, for recruiting purposes, when a coach got in his mid-60s, it slipped. Because, and Saban said this, they would ask me, are you going to be here?
And for a while, he fought it up with, are you going to be here?
Yeah. Well, now, so what if he's not going to be there?
Everybody can transfer.
Right.
How much money do I get?
As much.
How much money do I get this year? How good is the team going to be this year? How much am I going to play this year? And in 2-3 years, man, maybe there's a handful of people talking about that, but that's just not on most people's radar.
Oh, no.
It's now.
No,
everything is now.
Everything is now. So I think that's mitigated in terms of it doesn't matter as much. Are you going to be here in 2029? Who cares?
I know. I don't know if I'm going to be here either.
Because you can leave.
Yeah, there's a story about a quarterback
every year
who set the record. He's on his 7th school.
Yeah, Finley.
7 schools.
Yeah. I mean, and
he doesn't like spring ball.
Down.
Boom. Yeah.
So I think that's not nearly the issue. And if they have a couple of good seasons here, it's Michigan, so you can have an undefined coach in waiting, or you can go out and get the best coach that you want to get anyway. So I'm super intrigued. I'm glad he did it because that's what he wanted to do, and I always want people to be happy, obviously. But in terms of a story, aside from any personal relationships, put them aside. From a story perspective, we've added another story. We're going to be following Michigan football unlike we've ever followed Michigan football before, obviously. And so we're going to see, and it's not just Urban going to Florida, and we did follow him at Florida, but it sort of petered out. And here, there's not going to be that shelf. Certainly, we didn't Urban when he went to Ohio State.
Well, Urban,
he wasn't a Utah guy. This guy's a Utah guy. His family, Utah people, they're royalty in terms of football in the state of Utah, right? And now he's got his son on the staff. He's got Freddie on the staff, and so we have that interest. And then Jay
Hill's on the staff.
Gennaro has been around for so long that he's
Beck
there.
Played at BYU and coached in Utah.
And so did Simon.
And then you got how many players do you think he's going to end up taking? Is it 4 now? With Smith Snowden was 4, right?
Yeah, and then Moa, they're saying he's going to go.
That'll be 5. I always figured half dozen in my mind, just because, half a dozen, just a round number.
We're going to follow
5 or 6.
Michigan far more than we followed Virginia. Michigan's.
I think we're going to follow Michigan more than we followed Virginia or Florida.
They're actually at 5
way
right
more
now.
ties. It's 5 now, but in my mind, I always thought it was going to be 5 or 6.
And you're right. You probably
but I wonder if it's coming
more.
to an end here, if there's going to be more.
Well, you're
he'll be back for the next
players that you want.
Right.
The reality.
I figured what he'd want is future NFL guys.
Well, and he wanted some BYU guys because they've got at least 2 in terms on the defense that look like they're going to play linebacker and safety. And so you want NFL guys.
But it doesn't look like he's getting it.
It doesn't look like it, no. They want to stay, and good for them. And good for Kalani. I mean, that's a story that needs to be touted that, you talk about family on 3, all that stuff. Well, if guys don't leave.
We will not be outbid.
Something's going on there. Why are they not letting certain
Well, it's everything. I think it's got to be everything. Right. The money's got to be great. The relationships have to be great. The playing time has to be great. The ability to win has to be great. And if you don't check one of those 4 boxes, then you're vulnerable to losing kids to a place like Michigan.
And I would throw in the elevation of Papinga as D coordinator because
they got to believe in their coaches.
He has a relationship, at least minimally, with those guys. And so they're out on the practice field every day. So there's some, and if you don't like Kelly Papinga, something's wrong with you. I mean, I'll say that flat out. I mean, he's one of the more likable guys you're ever going to find. And so they like that. But that's a story that needs to be credited to Kalani Sitake, that players want to stay in this program. And it's a program. They're staying for all those reasons. It's not a team. It's a program. While they're staying, they want to stay. But I would think that Kyle's winding it down. And eyes, no matter who it is, eyes are going to be on Michigan, right? They're a prominent program. They are a top 5, traditionally speaking, program at all times. I mean, it's just a fact.
We got an open mic. Jake says it's pretty good and relates to this. You can just get to our app, use the open mic, send us your hot take. Brian, what does Brian have to say?
Hey, DJ and PK, about this whole Whittingham thing. The one question I have is, where are all the crocodile tears and the shouts of tampering? If one of those players went to BYU, that's all we'd hear about. Oh, they tampered. Why aren't they tampering with the players going to Michigan? Answer that one for me, Ute fans.
Well, I think some Ute fans have been saying that.
100%. I've been hearing that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can get players without transferring. Everybody's savvy to this now. Like, everybody knows how it works. Players know how it works. You can get players without tampering.
But it is tampering, but nobody cares.
When the agent calls you and says, "What will you pay my guy?" I didn't pick up the phone. They called me. I'm not tampering.
Tampering is a word that has no legitimacy in college football. So get over it. It's not being enforced. It cannot be proven. There's 1,000 different ways
around it. Yeah.
And so it's not real. It's not happening. It's just Kyle said, I won't tamper. He put himself out there. He shouldn't have even addressed it. And I got BYU telling me that a program, another team that they just beat, went on the field and offered one of their players money right there after the game. And he said, no, I'm going to the NFL. So I don't even care about the tampering anymore because it's not real. The coach doesn't have to get involved in that. He doesn't have to even be, he's aware of it, but he has to do nothing. Because you can just have somebody call, whatever, and everybody knows out there, and everybody knows everybody anyway. And so I get it. If it were BYU taking, but the BYU-Utah thing, that's the rivalry, and every little thing is going to be inflamed way more. So I've accepted that. That's the rivalry. That's the beauty of the rivalry, right?
We cash in on it all the time.
Yeah, and that means if I'm a BYU or Utah guy, which essentially I am both, I take that as a compliment. Because that means this rivalry is really,
it matters.
Really off the charts in intensity. And it's so fun to have. I would much rather have it, even with some of the crap, than not have it at all.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The reward is worth the getting emails or having people tweeting at you literally the same day. You're biased against Utah. You're biased against BYU. I've been listening to you, and you have it out for our program. And you can get them in the same day because that happened to me yesterday.
Yeah.
But welcome to the rivalry.
I know, but the thing about
But you don't
that,
get all the positives without that. You don't get one without the other.
Yes, and I'd rather have that. You're right. But that is laughable after 20. If you wanted to go 10 years, I'll even give you 15, 16, 17. But once we hit the 20-year mark doing this show,
stop it.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't have existed this long.
Right.
I mean, I am basically John Gotti now. I am the Teflon Don.
You are a made man.
You can't get to me with that crap. You want to get to me with other stuff? Fine. But to say you're this or that, when when I say the players, I'm talking about the administrators and whatever, and both sides appreciate what we do, that ought to tell you. Because they wouldn't. Brian Santiago comes up to me in Dallas on the field, Arlington, and says, man, you always come. You always show up. Thanks for covering us. Now, he doesn't really need to make a good impression with me. Because I've known the guy since he's 28 years old. When he was an administrative assistant, tie my shoes, Brian. Okay, right? Now he's big shot. But still, that's going to get that. And I see Mark Harlan at the Vegas Bowl, and he treats me with such respect. If there was any type of indignation, that wouldn't happen. So that doesn't bother me, but it mystifies me. And I think it's a very small minority, by the way. I think the overwhelming majority gets we have to cover both teams, good and bad, both universities.
We're going to take a break. I'll read both these for you next. We'll get to everything you missed in this show. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Kelly Papinga, Ben, K-pop, going up, up, up. He's going to be golden. Excited for K-pop today.
That song's a bop. That song's great. The movie's good. The song's incredible.
He's going to be golden, Ben.
I was not expecting that.
He's going up, up, up.
So let me gather myself for a minute.
It's been promoted.
K-pop, you're right.
Gonna be promoted.
He's been promoted.
He's been promoted. Yeah.
No, gonna be.
He's gonna be golden.
No, he's gotta be golden.
Gotta be golden.
He's gotta be golden.
He's gotta be golden. Going up, up, up in the world.
It's been promoted.
K-pop.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's time for the Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Utah Jazz tonight. PK, it's great that you can do it. Most guys in the NBA can do it. The question is, how often can you bring the A game? How often can you win? Consistency night after night throughout the grind. That was great in Cleveland. Now, how close can they come to that performance in Chicago? That is the question in my mind, and I'll be tuning in tonight, 6 o'clock.
Oh, I think they can recreate what they did. I don't think they did anything that was unusual.
Plus 20 on the boards? That's unusual.
That's the other team, though.
It is part of the other team. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's U2. I think the Jazz were unusually motivated for that game, and Cleveland's got issues.
Well,
whatever's going on off the court.
The fact is, as you say, it's U2. They still haven't found what they're looking for.
That's true. They have not, and that was very well played. But it's a beautiful day.
I don't know why that Michigan coach hates U2. But they didn't. Nurkic is a product of the situation. They don't have any other rebounders.
Right.
So the majority of the rebounds are going to be him.
Yep. But that's 17 still a lot. I mean, I get it. He's going to get 8 to 10 boards because somebody in that position is going to get 8 to 10 boards.
We can praise him, but has he ever played on winning teams?
Yes, he's played on winning teams, but he's played on very good teams. No, he has not.
So.
And also, his minutes will disappear next year when Kessler's back.
They need to.
They aren't going to play together. So this is all what Nurkic is doing right now is scaring people into losing the draft pick. He's definitely helped them win games, but this whole conversation, without him, would they be in the 9, 10, 11 range instead of 13, 14, 15 range? Yeah.
Then sit him.
And they did, and it was a horrific 55-point loss.
Yeah, I don't.
Sit him more. I agree. I mean, it's clear.
He's not your future.
He is not. He is strictly your present. He's a backup at best next season if he's here.
I want him to be my past.
You're very close to getting that.
No, I can't wait. But they can beat the Bulls. Bulls are nothing. They've been nothing.
And that would be win number 15, and they'll have to start sitting guys pretty quick here. Because they do think once you get past 25, you're in danger of losing the draft pick.
It simply can't happen.
They could split 2 games with Dallas. They could end up 3-1 on this trip if they can win. Well, then they still have San Antonio, so it'd be 3-2 when it was all done.
Yeah, Dallas obviously is beatable with their
issues. Well, especially when you play a team twice in 3 days.
So do the lottery balls determine whether you keep the pick, or is it the standings?
Lottery balls. So if you have the 6th worst record, there's still a chance that enough teams with the ping pong balls could jump past you and you could lose the pick.
See, that seems pretty stupid.
That is the system. So the question now is, are they going to have the 7th worst record? Are they going to have 6? Are they going to have 5? I had someone insisting they're going to have 5. They're going to keep the pick. 2 different people. The 5 is from one person. The keep the pick is from another. And okay.
I'd sleep better if they were 5.
Yes, I totally get that. Yeah. I think Jake and Ben were looking it up. I can find it in the break. But the difference between 6 and 7, after the ping pong balls, at 6, you have like a 3.5% chance of losing a pick. But at 7, you have like a 13 or 14% chance.
I have no doubt that God wants AJ with the Jazz.
Well, why? Why is that? You cannot wait to say that.
What are you talking about?
I was talking. You usually wait till I was done. It came to you. You didn't want to lose a thought. Boom, you hit it. You know how long I was going to go on? I could have prattled on with some stats and some schedules for an hour and a half.
Right, but it wasn't about me. It was about the audience. I was thinking of them.
I know you were. You wanted to share that desperately with them. And now that
I
you have.
wanted them to
So why is
have
it
a
you're
real
sure,
take
you're
rather
sure
than
of this?
some stupid
Is
stat
this
that
because
anybody could look up?
Is this because someone came from Massachusetts to Washington County to Utah County and Salt Lake County is next? Did you work your way up I-15?
Doesn't it seem like Kevin Young, this is not an accident here, that Kevin Young was coaching at BYU?
No, that is not an accident.
This is
Ainge knew of him, and Danny Ainge knew of him and liked him.
This
is
there was a higher force.
There was Danny Ainge,
and it's even higher than DA.
I know where you're going.
Who's a spiritual man?
Obviously,
yes.
That's why you got to witness a hole-in-one on number 7 at Pebble Beach yesterday. Congratulations, Ryan Smith.
There's no question that he wants AJ. Now, I disputed this with Ford Scally when he said, God doesn't care how many wins I have. How do you know that? How do you know that? How can you say that?
I'm just loving the Ford Scally's a new thing.
Yeah. I told Ford, how do you know that?
I cannot have a serious discussion with you if you're going to call him Ford.
That's his first name.
I know it's his first name. I was at the press conference. I heard him say it. And I did suspect at the time that I was going to hear it again, and I'm right.
I call people by their first names.
Sure you do.
So I think that it's a confluence of maybe it's just nature.
The stars are aligning.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be here.
Okay.
And you've got to do everything in your power not to screw this up. So sit. I would hire Galuki to come in here and whack Nurkic across the knee.
I think you just butchered the name Galuli, but okay. Galuki?
Yeah.
I don't know who Galuki is.
Sure you did. You did too.
I know who Galuli. I know who Jeff Galuli is.
That's a lie.
I knew who you meant.
See,
I still don't know.
Told you earlier in the 7 o'clock hour. you keep lying when you ought to be a truthin'. And you said you didn't know who Galuki is, and yet you did. You even not only did you know Galuki, you knew his first name, which I couldn't remember. And so I think they should hire Galuki, have him whack a few knees.
Okay, Ford.
And we get AJ. And Ace, so we got Ace DeBonsa and Ace Bailey. You get a pair of aces, you stand an excellent chance of winning.
That is not a hand you fold. You
I
play
come from
that
a
hand.
family of gamblers. Believe me, I played 5-card stud with the emphasis on stud many, many times.
I've never heard you talk about that.
That's why
I've never heard you talk about cards. I've heard you talk about going to the track
this
a million times.
is a true story.
Okay.
Gospel truth to keep it in the religious vernacular.
Thank you.
That's one of, if not the singular reason why I had to get out of NAU.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, it was the cards, huh?
The debauchery that would go on till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I knew there's no way I'm getting that degree if I don't get out of here. And I did. I mean, it was debauchery left and right here, man. And so, yeah, the guys would play, they'd be down, and they just, if you keep at it, eventually you can get back to even, in theory. So, yeah, cards.
Or you can go broke. There's that.
Right.
There are stories of people who can't pay their debts.
Sure.
They are tragic.
But, I mean, it wasn't in the thousands.
Oh, that's good.
We weren't. But still.
You're playing
I mean,
like nickel, dime, quarter?
$1 maybe,
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
So you'd be down $100, $200.
Whoa!
And they'd stay there all night. I mean, and I'd have to physically remove myself because it was too.
It was too much.
And I hadn't gotten
much.
away from gambling at that point.
Yeah,
I am now, but at that point,
right.
No.
You'd grown up around the track, and now you go to the dorms, and guys are
So I've since gotten a lot of separation from it. And I know what that is about, and it's dangerous, so I stay completely away from it. But I just feel like, man, they've got an opportunity, and this cannot be blown for a couple of victories.
Totally get it.
It just can't.
And I think
it can't be done.
And Nurkic is the kind of player to sit because it's not going to stop. Other guys or young guys have to play. Nurkic is not a young guy. He's not part of the future, but his combination of a little bit of scoring, a little bit of passing, a little bit of rebound, a little bit of screening, and a little bit of size.
Play the game.
Exactly. And so he's the glue holding it together, so take him out.
Send him back to Albania. Where's he
I wonder
from?
if there'll be a chance.
He's from Bosnia, but that's
Well, that's right next to Albania, isn't it?
He's just got this because of an episode of Cheers that I don't want to get sidetracked with. Albania. Okay, stop.
Oh, send him to Nova Scotia then.
Send him somewhere else and they can get something back, except it's all about contracts and nobody wants to take on the money, even though he's a player who could clearly help somebody. There's always coaches and GMs who need to save their job. They just need to win a little more. Is he the difference between winning a championship? No. Can he make you better? Yes.
Send Market into Finland. Jorge to Texas. Hendricks and Williams to the G League so they can still play. Who else am I missing? Collier? Just say, man, something happened. Mysterious. I don't know. Some intestinal thing that we can't figure out. They got to get it. There's too much at stake.
We had Riley on earlier in the show, and he talked a lot about quarterback development, new offensive coordinator at the U, what'll happen because they kept everybody intact, kept the quarterback in the OC at BYU. So listen to that wherever you're listening to your podcast. He does think Indiana's going to beat Miami by 2 touchdowns. You asked him about Cignetti because he knows Cignetti because they were at NC State together.
He's quirky.
Quirky.
But I think that just about everybody is.
The only normal people are the ones you don't know very well.
And when you're in that high-pressure situation and you're in charge of so many people, and then you got to hand-glad these people over here and get Cuban to donate millions, it's not a normal life.
Yeah.
You don't live a normal life, man. So Cignetti, this is one of the most phenomenal success stories in all of sports. Before he got there, they excluding which I think they went 5-2 or 6-2, excluding the COVID season, they'd only had one winning season in 16 years.
So far down.
Yeah.
The UTEP of the Big Ten for old school WAC fans.
And then he gets there, and he doesn't even need what the Devils did was phenomenal, but that was in the second year. This guy does it the first year. Yeah. Wow. That's just amazing. And now, where could you go? The Devils didn't back it up. He not only backed it up, he raised the stakes. This is phenomenal. Amazing.
I promise you the Utah and BYU fans both bagging on us in the station at the same day.
Go ahead.
That's why I quit listening to sports radio together altogether. BYU crushes it in the portal yesterday. Utah loses their absolute best recruit. And these are the headlines for each hour of the show. I've been following this for years. It's unbelievable that even with BYU having taken a clear and commanding lead in all things football and basketball, your best shows are still Ute apologists. Granted, I didn't actually listen to Hans and Scotty today. He does come clean on that. How do you know if I was apologists? We weren't listening. But multiple shows are Ute apologists. Meanwhile, Ute apologists, PK.
We apologize for the Utes?
Apparently. Even with them taking a clear lead. But over here, DJ and PK spent the better part of 20 years trying to tear down Witt in the Utah football program. Now he's gone to Ann Arbor. They're suddenly dying on the hill to defend his honor. Make it make sense. That's from Eric Lund, who, credit to Eric, puts his name on it. Good work, Eric.
What are we doing? We're praising Kyle?
We spent 20 years trying to tear him down, and now we're suddenly dying on the hill to defend his honor.
I spent 20 years trying to tear down Kyle?
Yep. And you're a Ute apologist. Wait a minute. How can I be a Ute apologist if I'm tearing down Kyle?
I would believe the Ute apologist has more legitimacy. The night he decided to take the BYU job or take the Utah job, he asked me on the phone, what do you think I should do? And I told him, I said, I think your heart's with Utah. So then why would I spend 20 years trying to tear him down?
Doesn't make any sense.
When the very night he's deciding, when he went to the cemetery to get a communal with his deceased father, I talked to him.
He'd already been at Utah for a decade, and he had built a lot of personal relationships, which is why his heart was there, because of all these people. Now, it's not that he didn't have relationships with some people at BYU, because clearly he did.
Well, Homo.
He and Homo are tight, and they have been forever. And check their resumes and their careers, and it's obvious why with the time they overlapped and spent together. But so many people, dozens of people at the U.
That's where his heart was.
Yeah.
To think that we spent 20 years trying to tear him down is just insanity.
Awesome to get those on the same day. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for your feedback. What do you think about today's show? Tyler, love my kids, but Wednesday, early out days get long. You guys, having Tim LaComb on, made the day so much better. He's the man.
Okay.
Now let's call Tony Jones, get Ryan on, and finish the day with Joe Ingles, and it might be the greatest radio show of all time. I believe Tyler is all in on the Jazz, judging by that list of people right there.
Well, obviously, the Jazz still rule in this town. They always will rule.
Even in their fourth straight year of missing the playoffs.
Yeah. They are.
There was an emotional bond. They got here first. They always tell you that in business. Get there first.
Yeah, they're the number one story most of the time when they're whatever they do. We understand that. That's why we freaking obsess over them left and right.
That's why we just spent so much talking about a team that's 10 games under. Well, 11, but we'll see how today's go. Today's game goes.
When I quit this job years from now, I will detox on the Jazz.
You will detox?
Yeah.
Going to swear off them?
No, I'm not going to swear off them. I'm just not going to be obsessing about them and everything they do. And watch these games and try to analyze and come up with stuff. And you want to look for the positive. Believe me, none of us wants to come on here every day and crack on a 55-point loss.
No fun.
We want to see way more of what we saw on Monday. And basketball, when played right, is a really fun game to watch. When the ball is moving and guys are jacked up because it's one for all, that type of thing, that, to me, that is a sport that could really be boring to watch if they're just not doing that, or it could be as fun as any sport to watch.
Smith Snowden's the latest Ute to leave from Michigan. How are you feeling about Kyle Whittingham's legacy? And Chris says, well, Kyle recruited these guys in the first place. Why wouldn't they follow him? And to a huge program like Michigan, it's a no-brainer for some of these kids. The ones who are good enough. The guys who have NFL futures.
I saw yesterday on social media that guy Clay Travis.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into his politics because I don't care about that. I'm talking about the sports stuff that he puts out there. And he put out, I didn't see it. I don't watch his stuff, but I saw it on social media. And it said that he made a point where, and I have seen this through my own eyes, that guys, for a little bit of money, they're sacrificing a lot of money because when you stay in the community, you have business contacts. We had Tanner Wall on last week. You can try for the NFL, but he said that being at BYU, he's met so many entrepreneurs that are going to help him
Listen to it in his own words wherever you get your podcasts. Search Tanner Wall, DJ PK, and it'll pop up.
And when you're bouncing around,
you're not going to get that.
You're not going to get that.
You are not.
So they are giving up something, potentially. And Smith Snowden, great. Way to go. No problem. But would it mean more in the business world if he stayed the whole time?
20-year-olds don't necessarily even believe they're going to be 40 or 50 one day. It seems so impossible.
I understand that. Well, that's the point that the man was making.
I know.
And then I saw there was a comment. I saw it on Twitter. And then underneath it was somebody saying, this is so true. So many of the Boise State former players have stayed in the community
and are
thriving business-wise in Boise.
We've
all been to Boise. That's not a bad place.
It is not. It's not a big place either. You get there and you get connected.
And you'll even sort of like Boise is a smaller Salt Lake, basically, right? And they've had a lot of success.
That's what Salt Lake was 40 or 50 years ago.
And you make these contacts. I know somebody who got hooked up with John Huntsman, and Huntsman set him up. And the guy, this is way before I got here. But he was around the program, and I got to know him. And he still, to this day, is thriving in the business world because of that connection.
DJ PK, we're out of time. Jake and Ben are next, right here on The Zone.